Good evening, everyone, and welcome to episode 61 of the Westmarch Workshop, Gamescom Blues. We're all pretty saddened to hear that Diablo is not going to have a presence at Gamescom when this convention, is near and dear to all of our hearts because that's where Reaper of Souls was introduced to us, a little over 2 years ago. But, oh well. We still have some things to look forward to. We've got another update to the PTR. We got some exploits that got fixed. We have some sales numbers to talk about. And of course, I am joined here by a very special guest, Nerdwords, because Chris cannot make it, Lieutenant Lunatic. He won't be here tonight. But for some of you that might remember my days over on the Ink Gamers podcast, this name might be a little bit familiar to you. And hopefully now you get to put a face to the voice, Nerdwords. So go
Hi,
through, introduce yourself. Why are you here? Why are you on my lawn? Who are you?
my name is Nerdwords. I play a lot of Diablo. I do the podcast with Flux over at InGamers /Diablo II.net now, which reverting back. I've played Diablo since Diablo 1. I played. I've been pretty. It was the first online game and first PC game I ever really got heavy into, and I was 9 or 10 years old when I did. And I've been playing the whole series ever since. Way into Diablo 2. Played both softcore and hardcore. Diablo 3 just softcore. I know I'm a total noob because of it, but
Womp
play mostly
womp.
wizard class. Actually, only pretty much exclusively wizard class, and read a lot of books about it and stuff. Kind of like the lore with Diablo a lot like Neinball actually. Weirdly,
Yes.
I
We,
know.
we, we share a love of
We
story.
like all those words that people
Mhm.
spend time and money and effort to create, and we like talking to have a fellow person who cares. So it's nice.
Yeah.
Wiz for life indeed.
uh, you wizard players.
I know, man. We're just Wizard is the master race, and everyone will catch up to us eventually. So
Yes, you're saying that to the demon hunter.
yes, I
Yeah.
am.
Okay. Well, let me know when you catch up. Let me know when you
I
catch
will.
up.
I'll call you actually. I'll text
Okay.
you.
Good to know. Good to know. But yes, so yeah, again, Lieutenant Lunatic could not make it this week, and also I'd like to start off by saying sorry for not having the episode last week. For different reasons, Lieutenant Lunatic couldn't make it last week, and I had just gotten completely burnt out. I worked a 6-day week. Wednesday was my only day off last week, and I decided to use it to sleep and recover. So instead of going out and trying to find a special host or anything like that, I I got greedy, I guess. And decided to just take a week off. So sorry, we're back now. We're back
You're a
now,
terrible
and
person. You're
I
a
know,
terribly selfish person.
terrible.
How
I'm
dare you?
so shellfish. Oh God, starting already. I'm sitting here just trying. It's
Shellfish.
like
Hang
clam
on,
chat.
everyone. I want chat to focus on that because that's some of the best moments of this show are the goofs. Shellfish. That better
Shell.
be a thing from
Yep.
now on.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just something about you know shellfish, clams.
When you're such a wordsmith, you're bound to mess a few up.
Ah, yes. There we go. Shellfish in the clam chat. It's starting already.
There you
There
go.
you go. Episode over. Restarting. I'm scrubbing this. It's going away. No. Yeah, but we are God, I don't even know how to recover from this one. Uh anyways, moving on. Yeah.
um,
Yeah. That happened.
I'm
That just
glad that I
happened.
was here for that. I'm just
Yeah.
glad.
Well, actually, you had a story about the
I did
the
actually. Yeah.
origination, when we go back just a couple weeks ago to the origination of Clam Chat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mostly listen. I'm also a listener of Westmarch Workshop. I have been since pretty much day one. Actually, no, literally day one. Because I actually followed you from Eight Gamers because you always liked lore stuff. So I was always
Uh,
interested when you so when you were doing a podcast with Archon, I was interested. So I started listening then. I've always listened, and I usually listen on the way to work though. I don't catch the live stream. Well, I was on my way to work a couple weeks back, and I was listening to the episode, and I was eating donuts because there's a Dunkin' Donuts on the way to work, and I was drinking a delicious nectar of the gods Mountain Dew, and I'm in the mid sip, and then that's when the whole clam chat incident happened, and just spray all over my car going 70 down the interstate. Pretty much almost killed me, and definitely made my car super sticky. And I'm super lazy too, so it still kind of got Mountain Dew residue. And I think about it every time I get in my car, just because of you. So thank you for that. Appreciate it.
aren't you thankful?
I am. I'm incredibly thankful, actually.
Ah, dang.
But yeah, that clam chat thing killed me, dude.
Yep, yep. I don't know. And it's only on the show am I ever like this. You know, it's like I don't even do this on the other show, like the Heroes Power Hour or anything like that.
Yeah,
But on this show, I just mispronounce everything. I think it's just, well, I'm just gonna blame Archon because
yeah,
that is what we do here.
that's what you're supposed to do. That's the number
That
one rule.
that is that is the rule. That is the rule. Um, but yeah, I guess what have you been up to lately? How is your like week? I'd asked this like it's been your week in gaming, but since you've never been on the show, what have you been doing with yourself lately? How have you been exploring Diablo, or what other games have you been playing?
I play seasonal. I always start with new seasons, and I play Wizards literally exclusively. I rolled Crusader and played about 6 hours on him in season
Hmm.
one, and I had a monk and a witch doctor that I leveled to 60 in vanilla Diablo, and that is the extent of my alts. I literally have only ever played Wizard. I have multiple Wizards in a season, usually two or three.
Hmm.
This season, um, I'm usually pushing leaderboards pretty hard too. Usually finish pretty well in the leaderboards. Season two, I got a little hosed on because it was short and I was working a bunch at the time. And I started out really strong, and then towards the end, I just got passed super bad. But season three, I've been playing pretty regularly. I've been playing live still now too, but I did spend a lot of time on PTR this week.
Hmm.
I also I know you usually talk about your Warhammer stuff. I've been playing. I got rare replays last night, which is like heaven. 30 games from my childhood that make me really happy. But
Yeah.
yeah, aside from that, a
I,
lot of PTR and Diablo,
if
testing
I
out the new gear set,
if I could
and
tangent just a little bit there, I loved Rare and all the games that they did, and then as soon as they got bought by Xbox, they haven't done
uh,
anything worthwhile since.
well, they haven't done anything pretty much. But
Yeah,
yeah, but
gra-
being able to play Banjo Kazooie on
grabbed
my
by the
Xbox,
ghoulies.
pretty cool. Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah, that was a stellar entry in the Rare lineup there.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, it's a really cool game though. It's got like everything from the Rare catalog that's worth it. The only thing it's really missing is GoldenEye, which I'm sure there's some licensing thing there. But yeah, I've been playing a lot of that. Played that last night a good bit. But aside from that, this weekend I spent a lot of time on the PTR with the new beer set and testing the
Hmm.
new Del Rasha combination. Kind of just seeing how 2.3 is going to play out for Wizards and seeing kind of how I'm going to start my season and stuff. Which it seems pretty interesting actually. So I'm excited to talk about that later.
Yeah, looking
How
forward
about you,
to it.
good sir? How are you? How was your week in gaming there?
My weekend gaming was sleep and work. Sleep and
Yeah,
work. I, I
lots of that.
actually I actually have been playing more Diablo than I have in the past month since the theater opened, but it's been on the console actually. 'Cause I'll get home, usually around like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and then not even want to look at my computer.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
I'll go through kind of get ready for bed, but I'll just turn on the PlayStation and start playing either D3 or Destiny on the console. So I've been playing a
Hmm.
lot of the console lately, and just messing around, having fun on there. It's kind of a different experience.
It
It's
is.
it's the same game, but it plays and feels so much differently with like the auto targeting and just like the roll mechanic for being able to go through and dodge. I don't know. There's certain little things that I wish that you could do better. Nothing can really compete with like the mouse and keyboard when it comes to
Oh yeah.
controls, but being able to have that little roll dodge and just seeing the timer for your kill combo,
Hmm. Yeah.
being able to.
There's those it's those little things, the little qualities that kind of make it
Mhm.
different and but a cool experience. I mean, it's by definition casual, like not casual in the sense where people that play console are
Mhm.
less important or play less, but it's casual in the sense where you're literally like able to sit down with the controller on your couch if you want to. So it's a more comfortable feel.
Mhm.
Um, I enjoy playing the console a good bit too. So.
Yeah, it's like a nice little distraction because it's like
Mhm.
you're playing a different game, but you're not.
When usually you do it when you got a group of friends over, if the
Mhm.
girlfriend or wife wants to play, like sit down and play split screen with somebody for
Mhm.
a while. It's pretty cool. Well, really not split screen, same screen, but it's just a lot of fun. Plus the
Mhm.
whole like loot sharing and being able to pick things up and steal things from each other is a lot of fun.
Exactly. It's.
Have you ever played the Diablo 3 drinking game?
I have not.
You are fired, sir.
Oh,
So
what is this? I need to know.
well, there's varying degrees. It's something that me and my friends do a good bit. But what you do is you get a couple people together, you play 4 player Diablo, but like whenever legendaries drop, everyone that doesn't get a legendary, like if you snag the legendaries, whoever doesn't pick one up has to
Hmm.
take a shot. If you die, you take a shot. Every time, like the last one to hit level 70 takes a shot. Usually you start a new character and just kind of rush through. Um, Varying things like that. If you screwed up and got someone killed, then you take a shot. If you're voted to take a shot because you screwed up, you have to take a shot. If you're the first one to fill up with items and have to go back to town, you take a shot.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, so there's just a
Great.
lot of really good excuses to play Diablo and or drink at the same time, and it's a good time.
Oh, I think a little bit of your story got cut off there. Unfortunately, the stream died for just a little bit.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah.
Bummer sauce.
Yep. Sorry about that.
Yeah,
So,
offline, take a shot.
yeah, got kicked offline. Take a shot. So,
That's the new rule.
bottoms up.
Yeah. But yeah, no,
Um,
it's a lot of fun though.
yeah. This is interesting. I don't for the people that are listening on iTunes and YouTube, you don't really notice it because the recording, obviously we mention it sometimes, but the recording doesn't skip. But every night for the past couple of weeks, we've had at the beginning of the show it drop connection. I don't know what that is.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So like we'll drop like 30 minutes or an hour into the show, including the pre-show, and then that's it. And then it's fine for the rest of the night, but it's always been happening.
Man,
Yep.
it is storming here. Hopefully, it's not me. But if it is, I apologize.
Yeah, it was storming something fierce here earlier, but we've got clear skies. It's back to like your traditional Florida summer. So it
Mm-hmm.
rains for 5 minutes and then it goes away.
There
Blame Archon and Twitch. There we go. We
you
will
go.
we will blame both. It's
Yep.
Archon's fault. He's messing with the Twitch satellites while he's training penguins to play Pokemon on the moon. Uh-huh. Archon DDoS confirmed. He's now DDoS. So Archon has
Oh
gone from
man.
teaching penguins how to play Pokemon to how to be hackers. So Archon is now training an army of penguin hackers on the moon for some nefarious purpose.
That sounds dangerous.
Stay tuned to find out more as we develop the story. That sounds like a drinking game.
Yeah. No, there should be a Westmarch Workshop drinking game.
How
Like every
many?
time you clam chat, Jar Jar Binks, Archon screwing anything up, or Leviathan, or anything. Just really, there's various reasons you can drink.
Any mentions of Leviathan's dog?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Very
definitely.
true.
Ah, beautiful times. I guess jumping into the news itself. Um, so I guess one of the big things, obviously, there is a new patch that is being data mined, like as we're speaking here on the show.
Mm-hmm.
But before we get into those details, I wanted to cover some of the other stuff. Some of the hot fixes in the past 2 weeks. One of the biggest ones is, if you've been paying any attention to Diablo news at all, you know that there's been a big exploit with Greater Rifts that's been going around, which finally got patched through a little while ago.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like one of those ones I just wanted to kind of touch on. That's like this is the point of the PTR. Everyone loves
Right.
going on and playing because you have like the 2000% legendary drop rates. You get to play with all the new sets, see what it's going on. What was it? We got a screenshot that someone sent in a while ago that hey, look, I'm on the leaderboard because there was no one playing on the PTR, so we got top 10. And it's just but it's great that they find these exploits. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
like previously, they didn't find the Goblin Blood Shard exploit until the season went in, but they came down pretty hard on that, which I'm very thankful for. And but
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
this one was if you're not sure like how it worked, and this still is one of those ones where it's like I cannot comprehend how these people that find these exploits how they must play the game or how they approach playing the game because it
Well,
was
this one was easy to find though. Like, I mean, well, kinda. I mean, it was less obscure than some of the other bugs, at least.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, but this one
but
was like you had to go through, you had to put in the rift key to open the rift, hit escape twice, enter the rift, spawn the guardian, jump
mhm,
back out, go to the monument to then open a greater rift, to whatever level that you want, then walk out, then go back into the portal for the regular rift, and then kill the guardian, and it gave you credit for the greater rift.
Right, yeah, because it would log it as if like
Hmm.
when you re-enter the rift after closing it in that like 3 second window, it would log it as that difficulty. But then when you started like at Greater Rift 70, it would
Hmm.
still be at the 1 or 3 or whatever.
Yeah, because you were still going into like the level 1 rift and killing, killing the guardian, but it was giving you credit for like the level 99 greater rift that you had opened up. And so it was one of those. It's like you're getting shit tons of rewards, a ridiculous amount of blood shards and all that other stuff. Uh oh. Looks like we had a little disconnection there. Sorry, hold on 1 second, chat, while we try to get him connected back in. Unfortunately, even though my connection is bad with the whole, if it blows, if the wind blows in like the wrong direction outside, I lose my internet connection. Unfortunately, he was playing on like 56K type level internet connection, and of course, blame Archon. The Archon DDoS is real. Uh, you gotta love it. Well, we're waiting for him to come back.
I'm
Hello?
alive.
Hello? You're
Hey,
there?
I'm alive.
Okay. Glad to have you back there, sir.
Yeah, I think it's
Good.
storming something fierce here is what's going on.
Gotcha. Do you want to attempt to video again, or just leave it
Yeah,
as
yeah, yeah,
that
you
for
should be
now?
good.
Okay.
Should
All
be
right.
good. There we go. Sorry about that, guys.
And we are back. There we go. You must have Comcast 9. It's not me that lost the internet connection.
Yeah, that was me. I think it's a
Uh-huh.
storm. It's there's something fierce coming through the area.
Yep. But yeah, so as we were going through and talking about with that exploit had gotten fixed, but it's interesting that people will go through and attempt to do how much time they spend just trying to break the game. I guess I wonder how many of them are just like used to this, like whether they are like a games tester or they're just someone that spends all their time attempting to go through and like exploit the game. Up, and he dropped again. Ooh. Yay for internet issues. Ah, waiting for him to come back to the call. I might have to edit. Normally I have to just go in and like take like the edit out like the first 20 minutes and like the last 30 minutes and it's good. Now it looks like I actually have to go into the middle of the episode and clear this up. Nerds is not in Florida. He is in Alabama. So he is out like in the middle of nowhere. So how is everybody in chat doing? Uh-oh. That's not good. He got disconnected completely there.
Okay,
Oh,
alive.
hi.
Oh, hi.
All right. We are back again.
Again.
Again. All right. You're you ready? Ready for
Yeah,
third
yeah, I'm
time?
good.
Third
I'm
time's
good.
the charm.
Third time's a charm.
Third
Absolutely.
time is a charm. Okay. Here we go. So I was just commenting about how you live out in the boondocks and
Yeah,
you
middle
have
of nowhere.
56K for your internet connection.
I would. It's pretty bad. Not that bad, but it's pretty bad.
Yep.
That's for sure. Especially when it's gnarly outside. So.
All right. It's 3:35 a.m. in Denmark right now. Well, dang. You're on vacation time though. Okay. Thanks for tuning in, Thunder. Being that's dedication there. Ah, well then. So, all right. Greater Rift exploit. You want to move on
Yes.
to patch 2 data mine stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. So the data mine stuff, it looks like there was still we were asked earlier before I lost connection, but it's definitely not complete yet. The CM Nebulis was pretty quick to come out and say this is not complete.
Mm-hmm.
Please bear with it. So there should be some more coming. So we'll wait and see what the full thing looks like, I guess. But do we want to go through like line by line what they've already got?
We can go through and just try to do like a summary of a lot of the stuff. There's they did make some changes to some of the set bonuses, like further little tweaks there. Shinlong Spirit was it got a little bit of a nerf again, so that way its damage per spirit was dropped from 2% down to 1.5%. The Immortal King's Call, the six-piece bonus, actually got a little bit of a buff, going from 100% bonus damage to 250.
Mhm.
They clarified the Sage's Journey three-piece set bonus, just so that way it's the same effect, it just it reads a little bit easier now. Helltooth
Yeah.
Harness got another buff, so that way the necrosis debuff now is 1500% weapon damage instead of 1000, and enemies take 20% increased damage up from 15.
Hmm.
And then now the six-piece set bonus gives 900% increased damage as opposed to 300%, and now lasts 15 seconds as opposed to 12. But it no longer stacks three times. So they're changing it so you
Okay.
don't have to stack the damage. You don't have that ramp up where you're frantically having to go through. Okay, I've got to cast a spell. Got to cast a spell. Got to cast a spell.
Hmm.
Now it's just okay. I go through. I proc it. I've got my 15 seconds. I don't have to worry about keeping those stacks up, but it's good.
Huh.
And then finally, the new spider set for the witch doctors. Now its two-piece set bonus is 4,000% weapon damage as opposed to 2,500. So some buffs there, because I know a lot of people were going and complaining that the witch doctors sets, even though they've been already buffed once in patch one, still left a little bit to be desired. That
Oh
spider
yeah.
set was a great speed farming set for like doing like kind of like Torment 6, upwards to like Torment 9, kind of a little bit in Torment 10, but not
Hmm.
what you'd be using to push like your Greater Rift 60, 65, 70s, for the that they were doing on the PTR, stuff that you would actually kind of like actually push for your in-game progression. That was, more so just kind of like Helltooth with Gargantuans. We'll see if this, pushes that Helltooth set even further and allow it to kind of compete with the other classes. Because they've always kind of, Witch Doctors have always been kind of like bringing up the rear in most of the season so far.
Okay. Yeah, no, I knew that they were, at least doing a little bit better, but I wasn't. Again, I only play Wizards, so I have no idea where the Witch Doctor's at. But
Mhm.
I mean, it looks like this will shake things up a little bit, hopefully.
Yeah, definitely. Um,
And then the Wizard change. We got one right now.
yes, you want to
They
cover that one?
Yeah, they upped Audacity, the 15% damage increase to everything, I think within what, 15 yards, and now it's 30%. So it literally doubled that, which is cool. And it is a multiplicative buff, so it should be pretty substantial. And most of the people that are playing the new beer set, I believe, are using that. I know that seems to be pretty much what everyone on the leaderboard's using, and that's what I was using. So most of your damage is coming in melee range with the new Archon set. So
Hmm.
that should be a pretty cool buff. But I'm hoping there's a little bit more tweaks to it because I played a lot of Archon Wizard in original vanilla Diablo 3.
Hmm.
And I wasn't really looking to go back to that. Now, this plays vastly different. It feels way different than that did. But I don't, I really want to still play Talrashas, but it looks like that Veers is kind of topped out a little higher. Now, non-seasonal Del Rashas is still going to be a good build when combining Del Sayers plus Talrashas. Um, Especially with the cube, it got a lot better with this patch. But Veers with the new seasonal belt is really pushing the leaderboards, the majority of the leaderboards.
Hmm.
So I'm curious to see how it plays out. But I did not plan on playing an Archon Wizard this season. But if it's the top, that's pretty much what I'm going to be playing this season. So
Yeah, at least you have the dedication to the wizard there. I know
well, yeah.
yeah, Demon Hunter has always been my one true love, but I don't know. It's just something about them bringing back the Hammered In. I have to give it a
Mm-hmm.
try. And
Yeah.
speaking of the Hammered In, we already have Droth here, which we'll be talking about Droth in a little bit. Um, is already commenting about the Crusader changes in chat, where they made some changes not just for the Crusader with the Falling Sword, but also for the Monk Seven-Sided Strike. Those abilities, their cooldown would start as soon as you use the skill, but it gave you a brief period of immunity. Now the cooldown itself doesn't actually start until the effect expires. This is a change that kind of goes in line with, the old Spirit Walk change for Witch Doctors, that they could kind of
Mm-hmm.
use for near permanent Invincibility. Also, was it Smoke Cloud for Demon Hunters? It's just these skills are getting such massive cooldown reductions that you can just spam it. So you can stay like invincible near permanently with a lot of these skills. And so they're
Yeah.
just kind of, I guess, bringing them all in line with one another. So that way you can't, do that. Or at least so you have more than just like a second or two where you're actually able to be attacked. Some of them, like Falling Sword, I guess you would spam just to stay invulnerable because it's not really going to be dealing enough damage for you to really clear much of anything.
Yeah.
But like the seven-sided strike, even though seven-sided strike itself isn't what's doing damage, the way that you can stack on all of your other items, just being able to do nothing but seven-sided strike, is you're doing an obscene amount of damage and the enemies can't touch you the entire
Right.
time
Yeah.
that you're doing it.
Yeah, no, the videos and stuff on YouTube about the PTR builds for Monk are ridiculous. Like ridiculous. It looks like a lot of fun though.
Oh yeah, it is amazing. It is one that I actually do want to go through and try out, just because seven-sided strike and exploding palm were like two of the things that made me fall in love with the monk. Back when he was originally unveiled, oh so many
Yeah.
years ago. That it's just and this set is just so beautiful because it's seven-sided strike and exploding palm, and it makes everything perfect.
Yeah. No, it's pretty cool. I want to say that I'll play it, but it would be a lie. I've said it every season I was going to play this or that, and like this season's even gone super long, and I don't see me rolling any extra characters. I'm just gonna keep playing my wizard.
Mm-hmm. Just keep.
Maybe one day. Maybe one day.
Mm. Maybe one day when
We'll see.
when they go through and they start adding in rune words so you can use wizard skills on another character.
Yeah, when I can get Enigma back, then I'll
There
start.
you
That
go.
literally like that's all I played in Diablo 2 was Sorceress and then Enigma Pally. That was it, and it was like I can't without teleport. I don't know how do I Diablo 3 without teleport. I
How does
don't.
I Diablo with no teleport?
Nope.
Uh, oh
But yeah,
boy.
no, that would be interesting. I
Yeah.
couldn't even imagine the power creep that would be added in if they did rune words. That would be absurd at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, I think what was it? John Yang kind of offhandedly kind of mentioned that during what was it, one of the tavern talks? Like having set bonuses for legendary gems kind
Oh
of
wow.
kind of mimics, rune words.
Yeah, it does. Well, and the power of them, so I mean, it can be so great. So yeah, it does a little bit. But
Hmm.
the some of the more popular things with the rune words was pulling skills from other classes and using them.
And,
But
and that's something that they have been very staunch about. The dev
oh,
team,
absolutely,
yeah, the
yeah,
dev team
and
has
I
shot down so
understand.
many times.
Right,
Hmm.
yeah, and I understand because I mean, again, I didn't play a pally until I could teleport with a pally, and then I was like, oh, well, now I can play a pally because it plays like a wizard. So it's like,
Hmm.
but whatever.
Yeah. I guess rounding out some of the changes, so it's the Witch Doctor had some tweaks. Wall of Death and Locust Swarm got a little bit of tweaks to some of the runes. Um, Spirit Vessel got a little bit of a buff. Instead of healing you to 15%, it heals you to 50%, and the cooldown was dropped to only 60 seconds from a minute and a half. Um, it looks like the Tempest Rush Flurry skill got a little bit of a nerf, and also Threatening Shout got a little bit of a nerf. So instead of doing 30% increased damage, it's now only 25% increased damage. There's some item string changes, like
Yeah.
the Carnival nerf and some other stuff like that, that are in there. Um, but like Nevelistus was saying, that we don't actually even know if this, from like some of her comments on Twitter about taking all the data mine changes with a grain of salt. We don't know how many of these effects are going to come into play. This might not even be, even though this is being like loaded up on the patch servers. It might not be like the final update that they do before they push patch 2, and some of them might be quickly.
Now this is the third pass now, right? Yeah,
This will be
yeah.
patch 2
Okay,
for the
well, patch
PTR.
2, but if you count the initial patch, then it'd be the third.
I
But
guess,
yeah,
yeah.
so it's the second reiteration, but the third iteration. And usually they do three. Typically that seems to be they do three patches, maybe a fourth. But
Hmm.
I will say though, it's not entirely fair to say that Witch Doctor change to Carnival is a nerf because in the wording of it, and I know with the descriptions and stuff that were put on the forums and stuff, the fetish is this is a performance change more than a nerf.
Hmm.
Like they're trying to make it to where not all of your fetishes are shooting at the same time. That just 5 of them are, but they're shooting powerful enough darts to do about the same damage as all of them at the same time. So it's supposed to equal out. At least that's
It,
what I read.
it,
So,
it's supposed to, but so far it seems that a lot of the feelings on it, the people aren't really liking the change so much.
has it already gone through?
Well, I guess it's not so much gone through, but it's that it's just people are they're concerned.
Oh, speculating. Gotcha. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, I was like, I don't know if this is live yet or not. But yeah, I mean, that's what they're saying. So we'll see. If it ends up being enough, that's a bummer. But I know that build's pretty powerful for the witch doctors right now, but it's still not pushing them up as high as some of the other classes. So
Hmm.
I'd rather see that get stronger than weaker because class parity is good for the game regardless. Even if I
Oh
don't play
yes.
witch doctor, it's good that witch doctors are doing well. So.
Of course, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see. What else? I think that's so far that I think that's about it. There's not a
Yeah,
lot
that's
of
all that's really been mined right now. Yeah.
yeah. It's been out. They've been posting for about 6 hours now, so I don't know if there's any going to be really anything other big info in there that's been released just yet. But it's also one of those ones that's like you kind of can tell that it's the PTR itself is winding down when your big content patches have this many changes to it, and you can kind of sum it up with like two paragraphs that it's that they're zeroing in on it, so they are getting it to a place where the developers are happy. So release is getting somewhat imminent, though nothing will be confirmed until we hear from Blizzard. We'll still get that like little 2 week announcement or 1 month announcement about how soon the patch itself is going to come out, or when the season is going to end, I should say. That's going to kind of what we're going to be looking for when we will end, you know, the patch 2.3, or I guess, uh-oh, losing him again. Sorry, everybody. But yeah, we'll hopefully get some news in shortly in the future about when we are going to be getting the actual patch 2.3 on the server, when season 3 is going to wind down and season 4 itself will come up. But like Nerdward was saying, maybe another patch or two on the PTR. Still going to be another couple of weeks before we actually see anything of that come in. Um, and we will kind of wait for him to connect. And again, at this point, I will ask, how's everybody doing in chat? How y'all doing? But I guess I could go and skip on a couple topics, something that's not really. Uh, let's see. What else we have on here? Um, for as I was mentioning earlier when we were going to talk about Droth, there is the Play Your Way stream coming up tomorrow. That's, I guess, if you're watching the show live, it's tomorrow. If you're listening to the show, it's going to be August 6th. They have this is, a lot of people have been kind of like, oh, the sky is falling type things, as it's the final Play Your Way, but it's not the final Play Your Way. It's just this is the final live stream that they're doing, and Nevelistis has hinted that she's going to be changing up the format in some way, and that the streaming portion itself is going to be going away, and that it's going to be replaced with something new, and that will have a temporary hiatus after the live stream before the Play Your Way picks back up while we wait for season 4 to come out. Just kind of like another little indicator that we're getting very, very close to season 4. Um, but yeah, it's something that you want to check out. It'll be twitch.tv/Diablo. It'll be going live at 4 p.m. Pacific, which is going to be 7 p.m. Eastern, for anyone interested in going through and watching it. And this week is actually going to be a longtime listener of the show, Droth Vader. And he's also been he was an MVP for a very long time before he stepped down, so that he could better interact with conversations on the forums without everyone judging him by the color of his text, which gets annoying, I'm sure. Um, but he has a Crusader build that he will be showing off and playing on the stream tomorrow. Although Nevelistis will be playing a Witch Doctor build, which is the one that actually won the vote, but he couldn't because of scheduling conflicts. It's like the Witch Doctor. It's like the Witch Doctor is starting to suffer from the wizard symptoms of, oh, you won the vote, but now you can't make it. I'm sorry. Um, So yeah, this will be interesting to go through and see. We might get a little bit of a preview, or she might talk. Nevelistus might talk a little bit about what they might be replacing the Play Your Way live streams with. I'm pretty excited at what the future might hold as far as that goes. Because it's still, you know, it's an interesting series. A lot of people have been having they like I guess the biggest complaint that people have had, and even if you look at some of the conversations on the forums or on Reddit about it, that people were always complaining that oh, this isn't going to clear like Greater Rift 87, so who cares? And it's like it's not what it's about. Not everyone is focused on getting to the highest in progression or competing for the leaderboards. A lot of people just play to have fun, and that there's some of these ones that you can go through and play and just have some fun with, even if you're stuck in Torment 6 or Greater Rift 35, what have you. For some people, that's all that they want to do. And they want to find something that's fun with them or capture a specific archetype that they find fun, whether it be like a pet witch doctor, or some people still like playing, say, a marauder demon hunter. It's about having fun. So we'll see. But definitely go through, check that one out. It's always nice when it's someone that we know that's going and got the win or is doing the stream itself. It was, as you know, Leviathan was on one of those streams for a very similar situation that Droth is getting on there because he came in second, but the person that won couldn't make it. I got asked to be a part of it as kind of like the community figure, and then now seeing Droth get in there is going to be awesome. And I guess I should go through and say he will be playing the Crusader build. It's the God of Thunder, I believe, is what it was called. Correct me if I'm wrong, Droth. You're here in the chat with us right now. Um, Let me pull up, yeah, Wrath of the Thunder God, pulling up the build here. It's, obviously, as you can tell by the title, it is based around lightning and is focused on the roll-in set, so a lot of melee. I'm still hoping and dreaming that one day we'll get a, Fist of the Heavens build. That's one of my favorite skills for the Crusader. But it's definitely going to be interesting going through and seeing that. We won't really get to be able to see it too much from the Crusader perspective since Nevelistus will be playing the Witch Doctor. We'll have to take a look and see how that plays out. So everybody go and give Droth a nice round of applause there in chat. And let's see what else. There's like the big topic that we wanted to go and discuss is like the Gamescom and what the future looks like for Diablo, but Nerdwords is having issues getting back online, it seems. We'll see if we can get him back on to discuss that. Otherwise, some of the other things we were going to talk about um, on the Blizzard investment call that happened this week. Even though most of it was focused around World of Warcraft, there's a little bit of tidbits that we had about Diablo 3. Diablo has now sold over 30 million units globally. This does count expansion and console sales. So not sure how it breaks down, individually, how much we have for just like the base units sold for the console, how many of the base units sold for the PC, and then how many Reaper of Souls adds on to that. But it's really nice to see that it's doing extremely well. And Nerdwords actually he was talking with us before the stream that he works as a store manager for GameStop, and that they
The
sell.
person whom you're trying to reach is currently unavailable.
No, go away. And it's so there's he goes through and just talking about how he like really pushes selling it. It's a really easy game to sell. Um, so it's and we were talking about the console earlier. It was just fun little experiment. Sorry, I am rambling here because I'm trying to coordinate on the other side, getting this chat back up and working. Ah, gosh, this is just a night of issues, isn't it? Hold on one second. Hmm. It looks like he might have lost internet completely right now. So this might be a solo show from here on out. Could call him via cell and use speakerphone to be one of those creepy podcasts. Ooh. But yeah, so going back onto the sales figures from the conference call, one of the other interesting things that came from that is that the World of Warcraft subscription has dropped to 5.6 million subscribers, down from 7.1 million subscribers from their previous quarter earnings. And one of the reasons that they're stating for that is Diablo 3. Since it just launched in China, their subscriptions to World of Warcraft in the East has dropped significantly. And so it's just kind of interesting that, yay, Diablo, the WoW killer that you never expected. Um, and running out of topics here because I want to try and save the Gamescom conversation if I can get him on here because this was what he was most excited to talk about. But uh, anyone that was a fan of the Ink Gamers podcast knows of Flux's love for Bashiok, and it was kind of a sad week, as in Bashiok, one of the longest standing CMs over at Blizzard, stepped down and has left the company to go and move on to different pastures. And it's just one of those ones. It's kind of like not so much, even though he hasn't been a Diablo CM for many years now. It's just the fact that like he was our first CM, the one that got to relay all the information and had to deal with the, just pure, just evilness that was the early D3 community while we were waiting for the game to come out. And every other post was, why isn't the game here? We've been waiting a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years from the announcement before we actually got the game. The person that started the whole "aren't you thankful?" And so it was just kind of like, we wanted to give like a little moment of silence, for Bashiok and his leaving. It's one of those ones that when you see like a big name figure from that like step down, then it's kind of like, oh, that's kind of sad. But we do wish him the best through all the years of ribbing and such. We do wish him good luck on whatever it is that he moves on to. Oh, wait a second. We might have something here.
Hello.
Oh, welcome back.
Thank you, sir. My
Oh,
power
my
power went out, and I am back.
Okay.
Whoa. That is the workshop curse for you, I guess.
I guess so.
I've never had this problem before. I'm sorry about that, guys.
Yeah.
But I'm back, and hopefully the power will stay on for me. It seemed to calm down a little bit outside. So.
Yeah, we can hope so. I've been doing last. What was that? It felt like 10 minutes. Solo. That was weird. Trying to hold a conversation with myself.
I bet that was fun, though.
Oh yes, of course.
But I'm back.
This will be an episode to go down in history. Watch Neinball awkwardly talk to himself, and try and stall for time while you get reconnected. I did cover the player way, the 30 million units sold, as well as the Bashiok leaving.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything that you'd like to add on to any of those topics.
I mean, Bashiok was community manager for so long ago at this point that's it's interesting that he's leaving the company. If you follow all Blizzard games, as far as Diablo, it doesn't affect us that much anymore. It's sad to see him go, but I'm sure he'll do great things wherever he's going. I didn't have any particular problem with him at all. He was a part of that original team that got kind of berated a lot, so I kind of feel bad for him in that regard because being real, the Diablo community can be pretty vitriolic, to say the least. So. But I think it comes from a place of love and passion. Mm-hmm. But either way, though, him and Jay Wilson have been beat to death by our community, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, we even make the occasional Jay Wilson joke on the show, but we
know how Flux does.
So. Oh yes, of course. All things considered, I always enjoyed Bashiok's sense of sarcasm when he's going through posts. I enjoyed his sense of humor, and that was one of those things that at the Reaper Assault launch party, I was actually sad. Jay Wilson was there briefly, but just to kind of like make an appearance and left, and I didn't get to meet him. and then of course I
Uh,
missed out on going to BlizzCon last year. I'm hoping that I'll be able to run into him this year because I still want to thank him for all the work that he did in laying the groundwork for Diablo 3. He takes a lot of the blame for how Classic was unfairly.
oh yeah,
I
absolutely.
still, I appreciate all the work that he did on the
Yeah.
game.
Oh yeah, and I think a lot of the ribbing nowadays is more in good fun than anything. He just
Oh, it's just
he
it's a part of the community now.
oh yeah, absolutely.
It's yeah, it's
It's part of Diablo's history at this point.
exactly. And then you doubled it.
Yeah, and then we doubled it.
Mm-hmm.
Wilson.
Yeah. And now, of course, one thing that I think I mentioned about 5 times while stalling for time, I was stalling for time to wait for the Gamescom talk until we got you
Ah.
reconnected because I know this is what you were excited to talk about, and kind of like obvious is what the title of the show is,
Mm-hmm.
Gamescom. So yes,
Gamescom.
we if you've been listening to the show, we had a lot writing on Gamescom and the hopes that we would have an expansion announcement at this convention.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are. Gamescom has started, and a few weeks ago we found out that there will be no Diablo presence whatsoever at the convention.
Yep.
All of our hopes and dreams, I don't want to say shot down, but were put on a hiatus.
Right. And which,
Yep.
given the content that's coming in the new patch, makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When I
And
saw those patch notes the first time, my hopes for Gamescom announcement dwindled quite a bit.
yeah, and it's one of those ones where it's like I guess we're you can never know what Blizzard themselves is really planning or what they're doing because only they know. But, oh, well, they made an announcement at Gamescom before, so maybe they'll make the Diablo announcement at Gamescom again because all of
Yeah.
the World of Warcraft announcements have always been at BlizzCon. They've
Right.
never done anything outside of BlizzCon for WoW, so that's when they'll do it and to not take away from WoW's, kind of like um,
Hype
screen
train.
time, yeah, and from the hype
Yeah.
on that, they're going to push other game announcements to other conventions. Hearthstone gets announced at PAX, or with the new Hearthstone expansion, they did it on its own. They did an event just for that without
Right.
waiting for a convention. And so that means, oh, well, Diablo will get pushed to Gamescom for its announcement so that way they can, they can save the limelight for, obviously Blizzard's, their biggest and brightest star.
Mm-hmm.
Lo and behold, we were wrong.
Yeah, we're
And
definitely wrong on that one.
yeah, and
Or
so
at least where they're not saving that for BlizzCon. So
yeah, they're
our hopes
definitely not.
might go there now.
Yeah, the World of Warcraft expansion is getting announced tomorrow. If you're a European listener today, if you're listening on iTunes or YouTube today, yesterday, the last week maybe even, depending upon when you pick up the show. But yeah, on August 6th, they're going to be announcing X-Pack number 6 for World of Warcraft. Uh, and so that kind of leaves BlizzCon open.
Yeah, it does. It leaves wide open. Now, mind you, we talked a little bit in the pre-show, but
Mhm.
Overwatch, I feel like is going to have a huge presence this year because we're getting close to when that's going to ramp up. That also
Mhm.
just popped up in the Blizzard or in the Blizzard loader or whatever. So the
Yeah,
Battle.net loader.
yeah. If you yeah
So
with the Blizzard the desktop app, you can see that there's an Overwatch icon now. You can't,
which is pretty cool.
yeah. So that definitely means their wheels are turning. They did say that they had targeted the Overwatch beta for the end of 2015.
Mm-hmm.
Gamescom or BlizzCon would be an excellent time to talk about that. But I guess there's not really anything like big to announce as far as Overwatch.
Release
You can,
date, beta date are the two big ones, and I bet that
yeah,
we'll
you
get at
can,
least beta date.
yeah, you can go through and announce the beta date, but that's not something that you've really. It's not like a BlizzCon opening ceremony announcement. You know,
It would be okay. It would be if they're doing a Diablo expansion announcement at BlizzCon. And
exactly.
they're not
That's
trying to overshadow. So I feel like they might announce, beta for Overwatch at BlizzCon and then lead with expansion for Diablo 3, fingers crossed.
yeah.
But either way, if they're again, I don't think they would lead with Overwatch, but it would be one of their early opening things, not their big reveal.
Yeah, I still think that definitely leaves the door wide open for the second expansion for Diablo to get announced. And there's a lot of things. There's some people we had. Someone going through and tweeting to us earlier today that their hopes for the Diablo expansion with no Diablo presence at Gamescom, that their hopes, were kind of shot. But I still have very strong reason to believe that we'll have a expansion announcement at BlizzCon. I guess maybe if not sooner than
Well,
that. If
with
they do
the
have something big to announce that's not related to any of their previous IPs.
well, and actually that segues perfectly into the hiring thing. If we want to go ahead
Yeah,
and jump into that,
yep, that was going to
because
be the next thing that to
yeah,
further solidify, our expectations that there is going to be something announced Diablo related.
yeah,
There's been since last year they've been looking for an art director. They've been urgently looking for an art director for Diablo 3 when the previous director Chris Lichner, I think is how you pronounce his last name. I
uh,
I'm
I
bet
I'm not
I
even gonna try.
I am bad at this. Um, that when he left in 2014, they've been looking for someone to replace him, and it's been an urgent job posting that they've had like forever.
Yeah, for a while now.
But somebody noticed and wrote into BlizzPro that the nature of the job description itself has changed. It's no longer a Diablo, even though it's under the Diablo 3 section, it's no longer just art director. It is art director unannounced project.
Right. And I think it's important to state that obviously that doesn't mean Diablo 4 expansion for sure, or Diablo 3 expansion or Diablo 4 for sure. It definitely doesn't mean that. But as a company and as a business model, you would not hire for a position for a game that was winding down. You wouldn't hire an art director at this stage of Diablo 3 to do art assets. I wouldn't
Hmm.
imagine like it basically the hiring assumes that there is something coming for Diablo because they're hiring people for it. But obviously we'll see. But I definitely think it's super interesting, and it's kind of like a shot in the dark, but it makes us feel a little bit better after finding out the Gamescom news. It's almost like perfect timing to kind of be like, this really stinks, but we have this to kind of hold on to for hope.
Yep. And if you go through and you check out diablo.blizzpro.com, you'll be able to see an article that Eldorian went and wrote about like this change in the job description and what it could possibly mean.
Mm,
JR does go through some of the possibilities. Is this just for the next expansion? Is this a hint at expansion number 3, or could it even possibly be like Diablo 4?
yeah.
That might be in the pipeline. Because
And
it's
there's
one of those.
also the really, really bummer chance that it could just be another content patch, which is still cool to get content, but obviously
Mhm.
less cool than an expansion.
Yeah, though they've been doing fairly well without having, a lead art director, for the content patches, like look at the Ruins of Shesharon and
Yeah,
everything that
which
they've
looks
done with
great.
that. But it is one of those ones, and I really like JR's thinking on it, that is, I don't think that this has much to do with the potential expansion that will be getting, announced, here by the end of the year, just for the fact that, it has to be done already.
Yeah, or close. Yeah, it
Yeah,
has to have something already
no,
made.
those
Yeah.
those assets are all going to be, more or less created, as far as at least the art and the art direction and such has gone. That is kind of already past that point of needing the art director to go through and create all that stuff. A lot of the
Yeah.
things that would need to be for this is the theme, this is the aesthetics, this is what we're going and looking for, this is how we keep things cohesive, and the design theory and the artwork for it. A lot of that would have been done, you know, if they had started working on this expansion when development for Reaper was winding down, which is what you've seen with a lot of the World of Warcraft expansions, that
Mm,
even when the expansion gets announced, there might be one or two people working on the next expansion already, and by the
right.
time it goes into beta, development for the next expansion is already started in earnest as far as like art content and stuff like that goes. So, seeing kind of like a copy in that management style in Diablo isn't that far of a fetch. So we could definitely see a lot of that going through and happening, whether that is an expansion or Diablo 4 going into it. Because
So are you leaning more expansion or more Diablo 4?
personally, I'd be leaning a bit more towards like an expansion number 3, just because
Okay.
Diablo 3 itself is still doing phenomenally well. Like
Yeah.
I mentioned earlier, it's already hit the 30 million units. You have a very strong entrenched user base on both console and on PC. I think them continuing to go through and kind of like push expansions at least for a little bit to continue the story. They've not they've not kind of corralled themselves like they have with StarCraft 2, where they said it's 2 expansions and that's it. StarCraft 2 is done, and now
Yeah.
they're like the story is finished. Uh, to where if they make anything for StarCraft going in the future, they have to be very careful because it's going to be StarCraft 3, and they're going to have to deal with those changes that it will have to the esports scene. But with Diablo, they could just create and write whatever they want. They're not limited by any kind of like outside forces, as long as they still make a game that people want to play. And if they can find ways of innovating the gameplay and adding more content that people want to consume, they don't really have that need to jump to Diablo 4 just yet.
Well,
Though
yeah.
I would believe that there is a couple people in the background somewhere that are working on a concept for Diablo 4, given how long Diablo 3 was in development. Because that was like
Yeah.
as soon as Lord of Destruction shipped, Blizzard North was working on Diablo 3. They
Hmm.
had a playable copy of the game back in 2004, before the rift there in the company happened, and then development got um, completely revamped. So
Right.
I don't know. I don't know.
It's pretty interesting. It's interesting to think about, especially with what you put it to, because I wouldn't think about that. Why would you hire an art director, this late for an expansion that's pretty much already done? So yeah, it's probably, and also with all the iterations and changes and stuff. I mean, this game is vastly different from vanilla Diablo
Hmm.
3. It's completely different. It looks, I mean, the basics are the same, and that's about it. And even some of those have changed. So it's why would you go through that much time doing that much iteration, that much changes just to drop a new game? So you're probably more along the lines of right with another expansion,
Hmm.
which I'd be totally okay with if they went with the World of Warcraft model where they just did the base game and then just do expansions for years. That's fine with me. As
Hmm.
long as I'm getting story content, I'm happy. That's
Yeah.
fine.
Not to go through and say, and there's been a couple people that have been saying some things in chat that I would like to go and touch on a little bit. Is that there are some issues with like the core mechanics of the game and how it's designed, where like with you're always based around like a single stat and like crit or crit damage scaling, and how that you'd be able to develop fixes and things like that for the game. How the game is kind of centered around sets and such, and like breaking it out of that mold in order to develop other ways of gameplay. You'd have
Hmm.
to revamp the core mechanics of the system, and you can't really do that like you can in World of Warcraft, where you just come out with an
Yeah.
expansion and you have the subscription based in order to pay for that development, because expansions never do as well as the base game.
Hmm.
Um, that eventually you will kind of like get to the point where you want to change things so radically that you're going to have to go through and say, okay, this is Diablo 4. We want to go through and make
Yep.
these changes, so we're going to go and make a Diablo 4. We want to change it to an MMO. We want to make World of Diablo, even though Blizzard's focus on MMO seems to be going away now. Um,
Yeah.
that is a very, very different mentality in the company than what it was like back in 2008, 2010.
Well,
Although
and
I
in the
would
industry
love,
too.
yeah, yeah,
Because I mean
definitely.
that's a big thing. There was an article. Please forgive me if you wrote this article, and I do not credit you because I don't remember who I read it from. But I think it might have been Flux on the Ink Gamers website or on the Diablo.net website. But it was talking about how even games like Destiny,
Hmm.
which is literally an MMORPG, avoid the term MMO because there's kind of like this negative connotation with it because every MMO that comes out just gets stomped by World of Warcraft. So
Hmm.
it's one of those things where people have kind of gone away from that. Not necessarily the genre, because there's still a lot of games that are massively online, but the terminology specifically, which is interesting actually to think about. Because yeah, you don't hear many Destiny players call it an MMO, but it
Hmm.
basically is.
Yeah, yeah, it really is. I mean, well, I would call Destiny closer to Diablo than it is an MMO. It's like
Action RPG.
it's a shooter RPG.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I can see
Um,
that.
yeah, but I mean, it is though it's a very fair comparison. Yeah, if you try to enter into the MMO market, everyone will gauge your success about how you do compared to World of Warcraft. When
Yeah.
at this point, it really is, the MMO market is kind of not what it was 6 years ago, and
Yeah.
there's not really that big of a drive. You have your Final Fantasy, you have, I think, like WildStar, what was it, Elder Scrolls Online, a whole bunch of other ones that kind of have found their own little niche. I recently tried to get back into the Star Wars: The Old Republic, but
Oh,
that didn't go so well because I mean I was met with the paywall just
pretty early. Pretty
before
early.
creating my character. I was hit with the paywall. I was
Yeah.
like, I want to play at Chiss. I want to be Thrawn 2.0. No, you have to pay. I was
Yep.
like, uninstall.
That was
You
quick.
know, I was
I
one of
actually have. I
those.
played that game a lot when it first came out. It was fun.
Yeah, for me, it's like I played it a little bit, but it was just like, this is a great single player game. I don't feel like
Hmm.
paying a subscription for it.
Yep.
It was one of those ones that I loved, like with I guess I always kind of go back to like Star Trek Online because they've it's such an underrated MMO in my opinion, because they've done so many great things. Like people loved garrisons like in World of
Hmm.
Warcraft. If you want something better, then there's the duty officer system in Star Trek Online is like a million times better than garrisons ever were.
Yeah.
Um, and just also they also did like kind of like the paywall with races where you have to pay to play certain races, but then when they went free to play they got rid of it.
Hmm.
When they actually lost the subscription, they just opened the door and you can play any race that you want to. We have like one actual race that you actually have to pay for, but all the other ones, like the Ferengi, Federation Klingons, and all those other ones, it's like it's not going to cost anything anymore. You just pick whatever that you
Right.
want, you go play it. And they even started off where you have a character developer, so you can design any alien that you want to create something. That was kind of Cryptic's niche, but they always have done like some really great things, and I think that they're like the best standard for a free to play MMO because they don't limit any of your gameplay behind a paywall, and anything that does require money to buy, like certain ships or skins and such, you can acquire through playing the game.
Right. And that's a really cool method.
Hmm.
I've always. I mean, I think everyone enjoys that a lot. Feels better to earn it.
Yeah, and it's one of those because it still requires someone to have put money. They have like it's not so much in like they have an auction house, but then they also have like a dilithium auction house, where
Mm.
the dilithium is the premium currency that you have to pay money for, and you can put you can put dilithium up to purchase or to sell for like the cryptic points, the actual like I guess the dilithium itself isn't the paid currency. Cryptic points, or I guess Zen, is the paid currency, but dilithium ties directly into it, and you can trade it
Hmm.
on the auction house, back and forth. You earn dilithium in the game, and you can only refine so much of it per day. So it's one of those ones where it's like you do actually have to go and play the game constantly, and you can't just become an instant millionaire by just sitting there and grinding the same thing over and over. You're limited to it, so you have to go and do other things. But it's just
Yeah.
nice that I can go through, I can log in, and there's a ship that costs this much Zen. Well, I can do dailies for this many days in a row, and then sell all of my dilithium in the auction house for Zen, and then buy that premium ship without ever putting a dollar in myself. And
Right.
it's
Hmm.
all based around the fact that someone will eventually put money in, and so the system runs.
Right. Yeah. That's pretty cool though.
Yeah, and I guess
Yeah.
like
And that's Star Trek Online. You said.
yes, it's
So yeah, I
definitely.
haven't. I haven't played that one.
Yeah, it's great. I love it. I purchased when the game came out. I purchased a lifetime subscription, so it's one of those other nice things that I never have to.
You can buy a
Never.
lifetime subscription to Star Trek Online.
Yes, it was like 200.
That's
It was $250.
wow. Wow. Holy crap.
Yeah, but
That's
then
crazy.
yeah, it was
That's
like
cool though.
it was 4 years ago, and I think after the second year, it paid for itself.
Yeah. Man,
Yeah, like it's
that's
like if
interesting.
World of Warcraft did that, it'd be awesome. I guess
That would be pretty cool.
yeah, going back into Diablo.
Yeah, tangent there.
we could kind of tie this into Diablo with how the system works over in China, with where it has like kind of like the platinum.
That's reaching a bit. That's a
Yeah,
reach.
yeah, yeah. But
Oh man.
it's one of those ones where it's like in between, because Diablo itself can only support the development team through expansion cells.
Hmm.
And the fact that it's still doing well financially, it can continue to go through and do its updates. And if they ever actually do add in kind of that platinum system where you can buy portraits and pets in the game to the Western market, that could take it on for another who knows how many years just on
I'm
that.
interested to see how that's approached because that's been such a hot topic among the community for so long now,
Hmm.
especially with like how the game will finance itself for years or for the next expansion or for whatever. So I'm
Hmm.
curious to see when they finally do announce the thing that is going to do that. I'm really curious to see how it plays out because it's been so hush hush and kept quiet. Like they don't want to, like even with the the thing months ago when they posted the patch notes and they got data mined and they came out before and it's like, whoa, don't freak out, but this is
Hmm.
going to be in here, but don't freak out. It's like they knew. So it's interesting for sure. I'm curious how they do it, but I mean, as a fan of Diablo, I'd have no problem paying for even like the 2.3 content patches and stuff like
Hmm.
that. Like to pay for what you're getting. I get, hundreds of hours of gameplay out of it every season anyway, so it makes sense, to spend a little bit if I had to. So
Hmm.
if it makes the life of the game longer and better, I'm down. So
Yep. I guess the important thing to look at it from this aspect is that it doesn't need it at this point.
right.
There was that rumor, I want to say 6 or 7 months ago, where they like laid off half the Diablo staff, or they got pushed to a different game, or they were moved to a different team, and that Diablo's
Mm-hmm.
winding down. Reaper of Souls was it, and we of course we had a field day with that rumor on the show. Like, this is all BS. Like, no one's being shifted around internally or anything like that,
Yeah.
that we knew of at least. And it's like one of those that they're still hiring positions for Diablo 3. The team itself hasn't shrunk. They're still going through and working on it. So you know we're pretty confident there's an expansion being worked on. There's something else being worked on in the background, whether that's expansion number 3 or Diablo 4. We're not sure. Um,
It's exciting to think about either
yeah,
way.
exactly. Time will tell. One way or another on that one. But it's just, they Blizzard sees a bright future for Diablo. It's still financially, viable, so it's still getting the development that it needs to continue to, grow even further. If it
Mm-hmm.
ever reaches the point where it does need those microtransactions to continue, I'm sure Blizzard will be the first one to jump on that. They do a great job. At least I think they do a great job of that with, like World of Warcraft and Hearthstone, with just like the little things that you can buy. I know a lot of people hated like
Mm-hmm.
the heroes that you can purchase, for Hearthstone, but I think it was, it's like, well, it's extra content. They can kind of charge whatever they want for it, and
Right. Mm-hmm.
people, you know,
And you don't have to have it either. So
yeah,
if you want
exactly.
to pay to support, it's almost like a Patreon for a website. It's like you can
Hmm.
pay to help these people out to support something that you're passionate about, to give a little bit, to get a little bit.
Hmm.
And you don't have to do it to further it, so it's not hurting you if you don't. So I don't see how it could be a problem. It's just it's good for the life of the game to be able to let people help, let people contribute to what they enjoy because there's tons of people out there that want to do it.
Hmm. The unannounced project is actually Project Stash Space. Just so everybody knows, like, the conversation for like the last 5 minutes has just been about Stash Space in chat.
Yes, it's
Um,
still a thing,
yeah,
which it totally is, by the way.
you mentioned
So
microtransactions to the Diablo community, and wallets are thrown at monitors just saying
yeah,
Stash Space.
yeah,
I will
yeah.
pay for Stash Space. Although, will we really need to with the cube?
Yes, actually, and if you don't mind me riffing on that a little bit,
No.
that was one of their fixes, right, for stash space.
Hmm.
And again, I play one class, so I don't have the problem that most people do. But I will say that in the new season, I've actually had less stash space than I normally do because like now I'm saving items to put in the cube later. So now I'm saving items that I wouldn't have saved before because I like, oh, maybe I want to use that, that affix on that legendary I would never use ever, or on that crossbow that I randomly found, one day. So I'm gonna, stash that and see what happens. So I can see how it could fix it for certain people,
Is
but
this on the
it's a band-aid.
PTR or is this on like
Yeah,
live
PTR.
waiting for the PTR? Okay, for
On
the patch.
live, I mean, I'm kind of whatever, but with PTR and the cube coming in and all that, like it's supposed to help clear out space, and it's about the same for me, if not worse for me right now. I'm saving more items.
Though I guess as soon as you get the mats for it, you would be turning all of those into the cube and then freeing up stash space.
Right. So over time, late in the season, I could see where it's going to free up stash space. But the chunk of time that most people play, the first couple weeks of the season, is still going to be the same. I feel like we're still going to need more stash space, but this is still a cool fix to try to combat that. But I think we're going to realize that we still need more stash space. Always need more stash space.
I was talking with a Lieutenant Lunatic about this, and it's like if you have OCD, when you open up the interface for the cube, and you see that grayed out legendary, and you're just like, I need to find you,
And it'll take forever to do it, but imagine having that whole thing full of like the weaponry that you'll have, So it'd be pretty cool. But yeah.
And then a new season starts, and you start all over.
Yeah.
That'll
another thing too is like I find myself keeping like low level legendaries while I'm leveling up to cube for later just in case. So I'm keeping like level 5 legendaries that I never would have kept before, but now I've got a reason to, which takes up more space, which again leads to the stat space problem. So
myself being a hardcore player, I'm already used to that because that will be helpful leveling me up in the future.
That didn't take as long as I thought it would.
Yeah, though I guess now it's not going to be as big because again, going back to the cube, it's like we're going to show off here once we get to the community feedback, actually in a little bit. You can take the level requirements off of items, so I can have a full set of gear for my level 1 character just chilling in the stash space and have billions of toughness.
There's also with the PTR and stuff, and those of us that test and play on the PTR and stuff, I'm like, okay, for instance, I'm wearing full Veer set, right? But like as far as like legendaries and stuff go, yeah, I'm gonna cube everything that I want to cube, but I'm still gonna keep a physical copy of that's got good rolls on it if I get it, or the best one. Like for instance, Stone and Jordan, right? If I'm running fire that season, I'll have one that first one I drop, I'm wearing it. Second one drops, it goes in the stash. Third one drops, if it's a better roll, then it's going to go in the stash, and I would just disenchant it on live right now. But now I would cube that one, or whatever item it is that has an affix. So I still end up keeping one in my stash in case I want to wear it later, because maybe you want to wear the item and not use the cube. You want to use the cube for something else. So like you're still juggling items and keeping stuff, which it's a good problem to have. It's a first world problem, obviously. It basically sums up the fact that it's not really taking care of the stash space situation the way it was supposed to. So I'm curious to see if we do get stash space in the next big patch or expansion or whatever. I'm sure we will. They've got to at some point. I mean, like, this is like the other big thing. Like they've gone through and systematically changed all the big problems that the game has had and like worked on it, and it's gotten a lot better. This is the one thing that everyone's still clamoring about. So if they don't address it, I would be really shocked, because they've been really good at addressing the community problems.
Yep. Well, we'll have to wait and see on that one. I guess this one will definitely be, I guess 2.3 will be that experiment. Was the cube enough to free up stash space for enough people, or do they really have to just address it directly?
Right, exactly, yeah.
And I guess a little bit before we get into community feedback fully here, I just wanted to show off, what we were talking about This is from, you'll probably remember him from previous week, Chaos and Company. This is his fully tweaked out level 1 Barbarian. Last week we showed it off. He still had a couple of rares. He didn't have the full set. This is him with full sets, full legendaries. His level 1 character with 9,843 strength, 5,443 vitality. He's got 1.1 million damage and 4.6 billion toughness with 2.8 billion recovery as a level 1 character.
And just to clarify for those that haven't been keeping up with PTR, maybe this is the first time you're tuning in and checking the show, but there's a new recipe with Kanai's Cube that allows you to make any item a Twink item by combining a level 25 gem of ease with any item, and it reduces the level requirement to 1. So you can essentially wear any armor piece in the game as long as you want to level up enough gems of ease.
Yep. And so he went through and he leveled up a bunch of gems.
Yeah. I wonder how much time that took him.
I don't even want to know.
Actually, hey, email the show. I won't be on probably next week, but email the show, and I'll be listening. I'd like to hear the answer.
Yeah, so Chaos, go ahead, send us an email, let us know how long it took you to do all that. And then also, just as I don't know if it was intentional or not, but Nerd and I were going and talking, he does still have the level 1 axe and shield sitting there in his inventory.
Yeah, that's the best part of that
the barbarian starting equipment just sitting right there.
Hatchet. His little buckler, just chilling. It's good. I like it.
Yeah, it was great. Loved every second of it.
Mm-hmm. And if we're moving to community feedback, there was a question earlier in chat that I wanted to address real quick, of in the
Fouch's question.
And specifically, just in case you guys, I know you guys know Neinball, obsessed with lore. I'm also moderately obsessed with lore. I've read a lot of the books, stuff like that. So that's probably been the most exciting thing about coming on the show, was being able to talk to my homeboy here about some lore. But specifically, Fouch asked the difference between the Nephilim and the Edorim. And the Nephilim are the original children of angels and demons, of Nereus and Lilith, and the first iteration of the powerful beings that we descended from. I don't remember if it was just the first generation that was Nephilim or if it was the first few generations, but eventually when the World Stone was attuned, it made all mortals lose their powers, and the people that came after that generation, when we lost our powers, when we were just mortals, were the Edorim. So the difference between the Nephilim and the Edorim is that the Edorim came much later in the life cycle of Sanctuary, and after we'd lost our powers, and then eventually those were tapped into by Lilith in the Sin War through Odyssean, which was really, really cool, and a really good read, by the way. If you haven't read the Sin War trilogy, it kind of goes over a lot of that stuff. It's really cool.
That's actually a question that I've been getting a lot lately, both on the show and on Twitter, is I want to start getting into the lore and the story, and my answer lately has just always been the Sin War trilogy. Just start there. It's the backstory.
And the reason why, too, is because everything with Diablo 3 was so intertwined with the Sin War trilogy. That book series was very underrated, not a big part of the lore. It was kind of more backstory stuff. But when they went in Diablo 3, it's almost like they all just read that book. Because it's or those books, I should say, because the story and the premise is so similar. Like, are you kidding me? Like, with the Nephilim now and our characters now, how are we not Eldysian and Mendeln and Achilleos? How are we not Serenthia? Like, that group of people, that's the 4-player group now in Diablo 3. So it's like, we have far out surpassed the powers of angels and demons, and the way the Sin War trilogy ends. Spoilers. First off, spoilers, because this is lore. If you want to read the book, ignore me for 5 minutes. But at the end of the Sin War trilogy, Eldysian eventually learns, hey, this was probably not the best idea, because this is a lot of power for everybody to have, and thus sacrifices himself to reattune the World Stone to make us lose our powers again. And essentially the only people that know this are his best friend, his brother, Mendeln, and Tragul, the dragon.
Yeah. Well, I guess basically what it was is that, like, he was given the power from Lilith to awaken the Nephilim power in humans, and he had raised an army, and it had finally attracted the attention of heaven and hell, and Sanctuary is just going to get wiped out. So he decided that it was a bad idea. So he kind of suppressed everyone's power again, like what it was, but it also altered the World Stone to begin to slowly allow us to regain our power. Where the World Stone had been used for so long to reduce our power, it was now allowing us to regrow back up, to what the Nephilim once were of old. That was kind of like what his sacrifice was to do. So that way it wasn't just like instantly, bam, you're practically a walking god. Now it's going to take many generations, so that way we can slowly learn to be able to control these powers that we're given.
Right. And then thus in mortal nature, because we're impatient people and not everyone knows, actually nobody knows this, Mendeln, I think, and Tragul are the 2 exclusive beings in the universe that know about that. Well, I guess angels and demons would also know. But mortals, the Edorim, would not know And so, mage wars start because people are seeking power, the clan wars between the different mage groups and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then basically, like, everything in Diablo's lore and history was a cycle of either mages fighting each other or angels and demons using churches and religion to also change Sanctuary and the people of it. So it's like very, very interesting. I don't know. And Fauci, you asked a follow up there. Are we technically the Edorum though, since Mendeln still has his memory or had his memory intact? Yes, we are, because the Edorum is referencing.
I would actually say that the Edorum more is like we're all Nephilim because we're all the product of the angels and demons. It's kind of
Right.
like we're all human, but like I identify as a United States citizen.
Exactly. Yeah.
That type of thing. So the Edorum is just like that is what they called themselves during the Sin
And
War. That was
and
that was what Odyssean gave the name of the people that followed him and had their original powers awakened. It's not so much that they were a different race or anything like that. It's
right.
just that's what they identified as.
That's what they were called at the time, similar to the Herodrum, actually. Like the Herodrum are still human beings. They're just a group of people that identify as these people. Same thing with the Edorum. They're the people that followed Odyssean. So technically we're not the Edorum, but at the same time we are. And technically we're not. We are Nephilim. I mean, that's basically the definition of us. But so we're both, really. Realistically speaking, we are both of them at the same time because they are the same. But it would be really cool if I was actually an Edorum and fighting with Odyssean somehow, some way, because that's something that when we should probably get into this a little bit later. I don't know if you want to do it now, but tinfoil hats on expansions and possibilities. The idea of Odyssean coming back. Ooh, man.
Yeah, that would actually be interesting because we have no idea because he kind of like transcended to something beyond what our understanding was. And that was actually something that's been retconned a little bit with the like the Church of the Zacharium, that they retconned it to where Akarat witnessed Odyssean's ascension into something else, and that's what gave him the wisdom to start the Church of the Zacharium.
Right.
And
then we saw how that ended up.
That ended up great.
Let's ask the Paladins. Wait, where'd they go? I forgot.
Oops.
Yeah. But yeah, I've always been a big fan of the Sin War trilogy. Richard Knack is not the best author out there, but those 3 books of his are probably 3 of his best.
I want to. He gets
Blizzard franchises.
In the World of Warcraft community. Richard Knack gets a lot of hate for a lot of the characters that he's written, but I have to say that his are some of the best when it comes to the Diablo novels, because whereas in the World of Warcraft it's kind of like a hero adventure, and they always have to focus around some of the big name characters within the World of Warcraft world, because that's what the stories are. It's about Thrall, it's about Janya, and such. But when the Diablo novels,
did you just say Janya?
Yeah.
You're fired.
Don't sue me. I don't play that game anymore.
That's true.
But at least for the Diablo novels, it was more world building than it was, telling the story from a point of view of this particular character that is entrenched in the lore already. It's more like telling individual stories from different people's perspectives to build up what is it like to live in Sanctuary. And that's one of the reasons why I fell in love so much with, the Diablo novels, is because it felt closer to reading some of, like, I guess just some more like traditional fantasy, because it's building a world more so than trying to tell a story.
Oh, absolutely. And I always identified so much with the Diablo story because it's so different than other stories. I mean, even in World of Warcraft and other Blizzard games and other games, there's this idea of good against evil, of your character taking on a challenge, whatever. But the idea of Diablo was never about defeating evil. It's about surviving it. It's about containing it. And that's cool.
I just want to point out to a comment that Longshot made in chat. Who's the best Diablo 3 author, so that way he can go through and check out their stuff. And is there anything like Timothy Zahn for Star Wars? If we could get Timothy Zahn to write a Diablo novel, or it's not, he's always sci-fi, so if we could get Timothy Zahn to write a StarCraft novel,
I might actually read StarCraft.
I would explode. I would literally explode. I wouldn't be able to contain it. That would be too much.
No, yeah, it would be pretty intense. But I would like to see them bring some more authors in, but they have to have a reason. We need an expansion so they can announce a book. So I need the announcement of the expansion so I can read the freaking book. That's what I need.
Not just the book. That way we can get another source book like the Book of Tyrael and the Book of Cain.
Yes.
Yes.
But I will say, and I'll use this as the platform to do it because I've never been able to. For those that are looking to get into lore and to read the story of World of Warcraft, or wow, Diablo, or World of Warcraft for that matter. But in Diablo, the Book of Tyrion and Book of Cain are very useful tools. But if you are planning on reading novels, do not touch those books until you're done
Hmm.
because they will spoil absolutely everything about the universe.
Yes.
And especially the Sin War. It will just,
Hmm.
there's no point in even reading the Sin War if you read that.
There's
Um,
actually there's a point that I wanted to make when you were talking about the Sin War, but we kept talking, and so I lost the point that I wanted to make. But when you
that's
were
what
mentioning
happened.
about how it kind of like Diablo 3 is set like right after, like so much of Diablo 3 is taken like directly from the Sin War,
Oh yeah.
and that is what the intention of the Sin War was. That was to lay
Mhm.
the groundwork going into the Diablo 3 announcement and to
Yep.
kind of like build up the world. But that's one of those things that you'll notice a lot of the Sin War trilogy focuses on the World Stone, and the
Hmm.
Diablo 3 announcement, and a lot that Metzen had to talk about it immediately following the announcement in the first BlizzCon afterwards was the World Stone, and then it was nowhere in the game itself, is because at a certain point into the development, even though they there's always the stories about how much iteration, how much was made and scrapped as far as game design went, going from announcement to launch for Diablo 3. The story
Hmm.
underwent a similar scenario where they had this entire narrative that focused around the World Stone and continuing that D2 storyline, but eventually it went nowhere and the entire thing was scrapped and they started over again. And what they began developing from that point is what you see as the story in Diablo 3. But that's
Hmm.
why the Sin War focused so much on the World Stone, is because that was the original intent and the original focus of Diablo 3.
Hmm.
But that whole concept they developed just got scrapped for something else.
Yeah, which I mean happens in writing. It
Hmm.
happens when you're writing
It
anything,
does,
so it
yeah.
makes sense.
You have a
We could
great I-
literally,
you have a great idea. You have like a paragraph to go through and say this is what I want to do, and it sounds awesome. But as soon as you start writing that novel based around that idea, you realize I can only fill a couple pages with it, and it's not going to go anywhere.
yeah. To directly answer Droth's question though, like I said, I really enjoy the Sin War, and I really oh no, it was a long shot. Sorry, long shot. But I really enjoy the Sin War from Richard Knack. He's a good author to read. But Nate Kenyon's books, The Order and Storm of Light, are both really really good.
Yes.
They're more
Yeah.
recent. They're more in tune with Diablo 3, and actually. The little NPC guy in town with Tyrael Lorath Nar is a big character in those books. Of course, Tyrael is.
Hmm.
There's a lot of really cool characters they pull from the old stories to bring back. So definitely check
Yeah.
out The Order and Storm of Light, especially because they tie in directly to Diablo 3.
Yeah. I have to
And
say the Order probably is like my favorite Diablo story because it
mm-hmm.
feels so much like like it feels like you're in Diablo.
No, it does. It
Yeah.
absolutely does. I just think I like Storm of Light so much because it finally addressed the Endurance Council and
Hmm.
like the problems with that, and of course Malthael and
Oh
all that,
yeah.
which we know how that turned out. But at the time, it was so exciting to try to go through. But yeah, and as Zeratul called out too, Moon of the Spider is also one of the best
Oh
books
yeah.
ever.
Yep.
Basically, you can't go wrong. Either way, you're getting cool stories and
Hmm.
interesting stuff if you're interested in the universe. But the Order, Storm of Light from Nate Kenyon, and the Sin War trilogy, and Moon of the Spider. Which who did Moon of the Spider?
But that was Knack.
Knack. Oh yeah, see
Hmm.
exactly. Yeah, he was
Yep.
he
But,
uh,
but
he did some good ones.
do not read Moon and the Spider unless you read the Shadow Kingdom, though.
Yes, yeah,
You, you
and
have you
if
have to you have to read the Shadow Kingdom because the Moon and the Spider is basically a sequel to it.
and I don't work for BlizzPro, but Neinball, I'm giving you a job. You should put a list of chronological order in which we should read the books to help these people, these good people of the universe.
Yeah, yeah. There's something that we've touched on before, and I think I should probably just do it again because obviously when we get into the next expansion, there's going to be a whole big clawing for story and how everything ties together.
Well,
So it's
especially with tying in the Diablo 1 storyline and where it falls,
mhm.
and Diablo 2 storyline and where it falls, and then all the short stories too, because there's short stories online.
Yeah,
It's not all in books. There's comic books, so
yeah.
there's a ton of stuff if you want to get
I
into it.
I actually am so tempted. The Tales of Sanctuary, the first Diablo comic from 2001, is like up on Amazon right now. Someone has it on sale for $30, which is one of the cheapest that I've seen it. And I am very tempted to blow a little bit of my paycheck on that.
Nice,
But
nice, nice,
yeah,
nice.
that's actually something that I've been thinking of. I've been wanting to, go through and revive my Orc plus Soul column for lore and kind of start getting things like started and some other stuff like what I expect them to do with the expansion and kind of guide it that way a little bit, as well as just kind of doing like an intro to Diablo War, the games, the comics, the books, and stuff where you can find story within the series. But
Ah,
before we get too sidetracked,
yeah, we could
uh,
talk for hours about lore
yeah,
for real.
we can. We'll definitely once we get a little bit more cohesive information on whatever this future expansion will be, you'll be one of the first names on the list to talk story, to bring back on the show. But I do want to start getting into before it gets too late in the evening. I do want to start getting into the community feedback so we can start wrapping the show up here. Um, let's see. Going through, and I got signed out apparently. We'll pull this one back up. But would you care to start off our community section?
Yeah, sure. So looks like we got an email from Derek. I'm just gonna go ahead and read it. It says, "Hey guys, so I hopped on the PTR last night, just about one or two level 42 greater rifts, and the first Rift Guardian dropped what I think must be the rarest drop in the game on Paragon level 668. Let me know if you agree. Not only is this much sought after furnace, it's a mythical ancient furnace. It rolled perfect affixes, although the values of the affixes are fairly mid range. And as if I got an ancient furnace wasn't enough, here's the kicker: this dropped on my Demon Hunter." Which is pretty interesting RNG. That's right, my very first furnace dropped as an ancient furnace and dropped as dumb loot. Is there anything rarer? Please remind me, or please remind everyone to not get discouraged with drops. Even the Demon Hunter can get an ancient furnace sometimes. Cheers and happy grinding, Derek.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a thing. It happens. Now, the
It
good thing
does.
is that 2.3, you can actually still use it. So you can cube it and use that 50% elite damage. But right now, you're just kind of going to look at it for a while or start an alt.
Yeah,
that's,
and
that's your options.
yeah, that is probably about the rarest combo that you can get that I would know of. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I guess the equivalency rare thing would be like getting, an ancient calamity on a crusader.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that.
I guess that's the only thing that would be equivalent is one of like the just it's because it's demon hunters just they have the reduced drops for the two-handed weapons since they can't use them.
Mm-hmm.
So that'd be very
It's
interesting.
actually, yeah, that's pretty
And
insane that you got that drop
I
considering
I, I
all
have
the negative factors there.
I've actually seen that before
Oh, wow.
when we were doing our when we did our speed racer conquest run with some of the guys. It was Blaze, one of our clan members, went through and he had an ancient furnace drop, and then we went and did our speed racer run, and he had another ancient furnace drop on his demon hunter from Malthael after we finished the run.
Ah, I got you.
Yeah, it was one of those ones where it's like, you got to be freaking kidding me.
That's insane. Yeah,
Yeah,
I had
because
a,
it was on normal. Not it
I,
wasn't even like T6 or anything.
oh, really? That was just not
Yeah,
normal?
it was just on normal. So
Wow,
there you
yeah.
go.
That. See, I had mine's not nearly as deep in the RNG pool, but I had I talked about it on the In Gamers podcast. So if you've ever listened to that, you've probably heard me talk about it. But I had a last season a problem with Pride's Fall.
Hmm.
No, actually, this season it's still the same season. Sorry, I just playing too much PTR. But yeah, the Pride's Fall helmet, the Act 3 helmet, whatever. I've had two drop ever, still actually now, and I'm Paragon 660 something. Um, but yeah, and the first one dropped Ancient and Strength Roll, and the second one dropped Dex Roll. So I'm actually using, when I use it, an Ancient Strength Pride's Fall because at least it's giving me 1,000 armor. So at least there's that.
Hmm.
But yeah, so RNG is real, and as all of us say all the time, if RNG is not screwing you, you're not playing Diablo right. But yeah, man, that ancient furnace, man, the struggle is
Yep.
real. So we've got another email here. It looks
I'll,
like.
I'll I'll take the next one.
Oh, you want to get the next one?
Yeah,
Okay,
we'll do a little bit of back and forth.
cool.
All right. This one is coming in from Screech. I wonder, is this like the Screech, from Saved by the Bell? I don't
I
know.
hope so.
That would be awesome. Um, But he was just going through and saying that he loves the show. He started playing the original D3, but then quit until Reaper of Souls came out. Played a lot of season one, kind of skipped season two, and is now kind of getting into season three. But is really waiting for 2.3 to come out with all the hype that's going on around it. And he
Mm.
actually found our show through the other show that I do, the Heroes Power Hour podcast. He's a listener because he's a Heroes fan, so he's been listening to the Heroes Power Hour, and he finally decided to check out the Westmarch Workshop, and he's fallen in love with it. So I want to say, a big thank you for going through and listening to both of my shows. Well, I'm only a co-host on the other. I don't really want to call that one my show. That's Twiz's show. I'm a part of it. I have fun over there. But yeah, definitely thank you for being and listening into a couple of our shows over here at Blizz Pro. If you are a Hearthstone fan, I highly recommend the Well Met podcast. That is amazing, awesome stuff that you'll recognize. Eldorian is on that one. Definitely something else that you should go through and give a listen. They're on iTunes. They do their live show on Sundays. But yeah, thanks for being a listener. And he also, even though he's a softcore player, he wants to be in. He wants to be in our Blizz Pro clan. By all means, go ahead, send us a clan request, and we will get you in. So thank you very much for writing into the show. We definitely appreciate all of our listeners and all the different ways that you go through and find us.
That's pretty good cross promotion there too.
Yeah, isn't it? There is one other email that we have here. Unfortunately, I can't show it on the stream right now. But with the conversation that Leviathan, Lunatic, and I were having on our last episode about like the Power Rangers Crusader idea, he was reminded of a video that Jake had done a while ago,
Oh
where
yeah,
it
the
was
Archons.
the Jade Power Ranger Barbarian video that he did a little over a year ago, where it's just a whole bunch of it was like the Luke Ghislaine socks. So it was the um what was it? I forget the skill combo. Whereas every time that you leaped, you did the um eruption.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's what is that skill called? Dang it!
I
I'm
don't.
so
I
bad.
literally only play wizards. Sorry.
I
Sorry.
just I make fun of barbs. I don't play barbs.
I
Earthquake. There we
understand.
go. That's it.
Earthquake. Yeah.
Earthquake. So it's every time that you leapt, you did earthquake. And then it's just a whole bunch of videos of them doing like the Power Rangers theme of them jumping on top of things and killing them. So it's yeah, we'll maybe Steven and I will get together and try and make a Power Ranger Crusader video to compete with that.
You guys have been talking about it for like 3 shows now. So if you don't, then you failed. I man challenge you. Now you have to do it, or we can't be friends.
There we go. All right.
So now you have to.
We will do it. So, Steven, once you're done listening to this, email me. Let's start talking and planning for season 4. You want to take the next one?
Yep, sure. Okay, so we got a sup, fellas, from Ed here. It says he reached Paragon 450 without seeing a single Unity this season. Do you guys have any suggestions for focus farming items? I have 3 methods that I think should work in this order. Number 1, Greater Rift clears, spend blood shards on rings. 2, T6 rifts, stop after the boss. And 3, T6 full clears in a public group. When I get bored with number 1, I drop to number 2, and so on. Any tips to improve my chances? Is there another approach I haven't thought about? For example, should I bother gearing for Magic Find or stick with Clear Speed? Love the show. I'd love to join you guys live, but you record in the middle of the night for me here in Ireland. Ooh, well, greetings, sir. Yeah, and cheers, Ed. So, yeah, I would say focus farming is hard right now in the game. That's going to get a lot easier for you in 2.3 with the ability to reroll rares and stuff like that. But rings are still going to be a challenge because there's such a big pool of items. You've got the right idea. Greater rifts are the fastest way to get blood shards. Spending them on rings is really, really the best way. It's an expensive spend, but if that's the biggest upgrade you can get, then that's really your only thing there. T6. I actually got to the point down to where I don't even run T6 anymore because it's greater rifts or nothing with the amount of time I have to play. But if you've got time to run T6, you do get a significant amount of drops, more drops obviously because you're not getting the drops in greater rifts. So if you want to try your luck at the lottery, go to regular rifts. If you want to try to specifically farm it out of Kadala, then stick with greater rifts. But either way, just keep at it, man. You'll get it eventually probably. Unity is one of those that you really, really got to have, so it's one of the more frustrating ones when you don't. But hopefully with the new patch and the ability to cube items and to specifically roll items, it'll get a lot easier for you next season.
Then our final email coming in here tonight is going to be from Power Axes, the longtime listener. Love you, Power Axes. And those are some of the thoughts that he has from doing some extensive playtesting on the PTR, and is kind of like what he would set as kind of like an early guideline. This is probably something that we'll come back to as we get closer to the launch of 2.3. But he wanted to go through and just say, one of the first things that he's found is do not go for the cube the very first time. In the specifically, especially for like a hardcore character, is that the monsters in there, even though everything is tuned to your level, is just like the same reason why you don't like go into Act 5 with a level 1 character with adventure mode, is because even though they're level 1 monsters, the monsters in Shesharon are tougher
Oh, they hurt.
than level 1 monsters like anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Also, just that a lot of the things require Death's Breaths, which you can't even get until level 60. So it's just, don't feel the urge to have to go and immediately grab the Q as your first thing as a level 1 character. Give yourself some time to get some better skill selection, get some better gear, because you might be having a rough time with a lot of the mob types that you'll find in Shesharon.
Yeah.
And then he does say that you want to try and get the cube by around like level 30 or level 29, because one of the things that you can get or use the cube for is the vault. If you get the puzzle ring, if you cube the puzzle ring, it will open up a portal to the vault, where you get a ton of gems, a lot of gold, and some possible legendary items, and they start dropping at level 29. So that's one thing that you can go through and do, just to give yourself a little bit of a boost. Just if you have it by around level 30, should you have that random puzzle ring drop starting at level 29, you can immediately go into the vault and you're kind of set for the rest of your leveling experience.
Oh,
You have all the gold that you need at the beginning of the new season to like level up, your blacksmith, jeweler, all that stuff.
Yeah, I would actually, and referencing back what we were talking about earlier, his email reminded me that's another thing too. I'm saving all these bovine bardages and puzzle rings now for the cube. So now I'm saving things I never would have saved, like ever, just so I can run, as many goblin risks as I want to, which is cool. But yeah, back to that stash thing. Always comes back to the stash thing.
Yep. He also says that as soon as you get a couple pieces of armor and a magic weapon, so if you have something over, say, 10 or 15 DPS on your weapon, immediately like hop in and do like one of the Act 1 boss bounties. So that's the Butcher, Spider Queen, or Leoric, just so that way you can get the chest from killing them, and it's going to give you a bunch of nice rares to start off with if you're around level 10ish. And it's just a good starting point to give you that nice quick bump up in power to make the rest of the leveling experience great. And that you can also start doing regular rifts from level 1 because you don't need keys anymore. And so that's another place that you could potentially use to just go through. And if you hit kind of like a stale area where you're not getting gear, just hit a couple rifts. And then it's also, he found that his level of progression is faster doing rifts than doing bounties. So there's a lot of guides out there for doing speed leveling, focus targeting certain bounties. There are benefits to doing bounties as you level, even though at the beginning of a season you're kind of going to be on normal or hard, so you don't have the increased drop chance for the act mats, but it might give you a little bit of a boost. Was when I was playing around on the PTR, by the time that I hit level 60, just going around and doing all of the bonus bounty acts, I had accumulated about 7 or 8 of the act mats.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even going to be enough really to get me like a single cubed item once I have enough Death's Breaths for them, but it's just something to get you started.
Well, and it's going to be something that varies class to class and playstyle to playstyle. I know that if you're looking to rush and hit 70, and if there is a conquest, that ends up being a level 70 conquest, then usually the fastest way to do that is to run Halls of Agony level 1, 2, or 3 in Act 1 over and over and over again, which is the fastest on pen and paper experience you can get using as many plus experience items as you can. If you're looking to get to max level and have a ton of mats already saved up so you can go ahead and start cubing stuff, bounties is the way to go, and it's moderately slower. I mean, like, you're going to lose maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours on that time. And then, Rifts is more consistent, and you get gear faster, so thus you're able to kill things faster. So it feels smoother. It's not is not necessarily that much faster than bounties or that much slower than doing Halls of Agony, but it's just a different experience. I had a lot more fun leveling up on PTR through rifts, but I will probably level through bounties because I won't be rushing to 70. I'll want to get there and have some mats just hanging out. But as a wizard, though, it's kind of an interesting question. Again, class to class, because wizard, once you get access to aid to walker, then bounties become absurd. You can just teleport everywhere you want to go. So it's almost better to run rifts to try to get you that one first and then to jump in and do your bounties because you can knock them out pretty quick. So every class is going to have a different way to do it. Just have fun whatever you're doing. That's all that matters, man.
Yep, and I mean, there's still plenty of time to prepare because we've got.
Oh yeah.
I want to say there's at least maybe I don't know end of August before we really see this patch.
Well, it's supposed to be at least a 2-week notice, so X plus 2 weeks, where X is the most current time.
Yeah.
So
and also
to.
just it's not only that, we have a new patch that's going to be coming out for the PTR. So that's going to be tested for at least like a week or two at
I would imagine that'll come tomorrow, hopefully.
Yeah, that's
being that it was data mined today.
That would be the expectation. We've had a bunch of Thursday patches for the PTR.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess that is going to wrap it up for the community feedback. We can go through and click into some items of the week. And I know this one is going to be a little bit difficult for you since you can't have the stream up at the same time as the video. So you will just have to do just imagine that you're listening to the show, on your.
I'll just do my oohs and ahs.
Yes, there you go. This first one, we had mentioned it last week how we hadn't gotten an email from Kurova. He didn't have anything super spectacular to send in like he had previously, though he did hit us up on Twitter with a whole bunch of other ancients that he's been finding lately, though he does admit that they're not really anything to write home about. Out of all the ones that he sent in, I of course picked the Demon Hunter items because I'm biased. It's my show. Screw you. I can do what I want. It's not anything spectacular. It's some stuff that you don't really see too much. Giving some love to some lesser used items, and by lesser used I mean probably never, maybe only while you're leveling. We have oh god, what is this? Emmy May's Duffel. I think that's how you pronounce that. Anyways, so legendary quiver that rolled 912 dexterity, 912 vitality. Interesting combo there. Increases attack speed by 18%, reduces all resource costs by 8%, and increases evasive fire damage by 13%. It gives 12 to maximum discipline, and the secondary bonus that the bolas now explode instantly. I must say this is one of my favorite items to have drop while leveling, because bolas is always my go-to skill when I'm leveling up a new demon hunter.
And it's one of the cooler generators for sure.
Yeah, and just if you have a decent weapon socketed with a ruby, playing only on hard, you one-shot most things with bolas by itself. And when you have the rune that increases the explosion out to 20 yards, is one of your fastest clearing skills. And having this so that way it explodes instantly is just really nice. Obviously, it won't compare in speed with getting power level, but it's just a nice little combo to use. Yeah. And then the other quiver that we have on here is the 9th Siri Satchel. Kiri Satchel? Siri Satchel?
I wish I could help you with it.
Yeah, just going from there. 907 dexterity, 964 vitality, increases attack speed by 16%, increases critical hit chance by 8.5%, and increases Rain of Vengeance damage by 11%. Also rolled with maximum discipline, and this one's only at 9. And then of course Hungering Arrow has a 23% additional chance to pierce its targets. So that will be nice to fill in your little bubble on your cube in 2.3, and that is about all that it will fill in for. Sadly, that's anything that really buffs, for at least especially for the Demon Hunter, anything that buffs your generators really isn't that great. Because Demon Hunter's generators just, all in all, are something that gives you hatred and not much else.
Yeah.
Yep. This second item that we have sent in is from Fate. This is a beautiful ancient convention of elements. It's got 635 strength. It's been rerolled for a perfect, increases critical hit damage by 50%. Naturally rolled critical hit chance increased by 6%, with the secondary bonus of 178 physical resistance, and rolled a perfect 200% increased damage, to your rotating element. And then, of course, it also came with a socket, and he's got a level 51 Bane of the Trapped in there. All in all, beautiful item. That's about all you could ask for, on a ring, especially, going through not just getting re-rolling to the perfect critical hit damage, getting the perfect critical hit chance, but its secondary passive of physical resistance.
Yeah, that's a must-have.
Yeah, that is just, you can't ask for much more on that.
Mm-hmm.
The next we've got a set of items. Well, actually, we have one item in a picture from, longtime listener Lala, member of the clan, and you've seen her a couple times on some of the little extra streams that we've done for seasons, going and leveling with us. This one rolled 749 dexterity, 755 vitality. So this is kind of the trifecta for hardcore. We don't really care too much about attack speed, especially this. I should point out, say the item name Neinball. Come on, this is the Yolana's Fury. It's the new monk set gloves. So this is the new exploding palm 7-sided strike build. So attack speed means absolutely nothing, and you'd only need a little bit of cooldown reduction since the build itself normally uses Ingeom in order to get like the instant 7-sided strike. But this one, going back, it has 749 dexterity, 750 vitality, hardcore character. It increases critical hit damage, has been rerolled to the perfect 50%, and as well as the increased critical hit chance by 10%. Rolled 151 poison resist and 33% extra gold from monsters. So the poison resist, even though most builds want, especially for the melee classes, want to have physical resistance, with the way the monk passives work, any type of secondary resistance is still good.
Absolutely.
Yep. The other thing that she sent in, and I say thing, we can maybe see if I can zoom in a little bit closer on it, is we have Henry's item, the new Henry, the little kitty, the wizard or the witch doctor mojo of the little cat.
Oh
Who,
man, I wish I could see this one.
at
Dang.
BlizzCon was previously referred to as Mr. Pickles, and just how cute it is.
Oh, I'm a cat person too, so I kind of need to have this.
Yes, I understand the feeling. I'm more of a cat person than I am a dog person, so it is definitely one that I am drawn towards.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, she also wrote in, I still can't decide whether it's creepy or cute that I carry around a live cat and kill things. But it doesn't stop me, and she said that she once sat in town for 15 minutes just switching mojos because he mews every time that he's equipped.
Oh my god, I need this. I need this to happen in my life. I need this in the game right now.
I know, isn't it? This is one of those ones where it's like this is just beautiful.
It's worth starting a level 1 witch doctor just to run around in town with. I'd probably never level it. But...
Of course, and then of course you will transmog every single one of your mojos into the cat.
Oh, okay. Diablo 3 development team, this is me directly asking you to let me transmog witch doctor mojos for my wizard. That would be. They're both technically offhands. Let me carry the cat around. That would be cool. Highly unlikely.
I am all for it. I am 100% on board with this.
I think it'd be awesome, personally.
Yep.
Or what if as a demon hunter you could have it as your quiver? What if you could have a little kitty cat hanging out of the back of your quiver, mewing at you all the time as you shot stuff or strafed stuff? That'd be cool.
Our next item, moving on here, we have this one has been sent in by Duke, and he states that this is like the highest sword DPS highest DPS he's ever seen on a sword. This is two-handed blackguard. It is clocking in at 4,709 DPS. He's re-rolled the average damage on the weapon to try and get it up as high as he possibly can, and it came innately with the 10% base damage, 1,338 strength, increases attack speed by 6%. The monster kills grant 229 experience, reduces the duration of crowd control impairing effects by 34% because I can speak. And then, of course, Ronald McDonald's in there for a socket with an emerald. So that actually is very impressive. Unfortunately, it's just a blackguard, so no one's really going to be using that too much. But still, it's an awesome DPS number. I'm not sure. I haven't really been keeping tabs on it if that is the highest DPS weapon we've ever showed on the show, but that one is
Oh, you're
really far
slipping,
up
man.
there.
You're
I
slipping.
know, I am failing. Like your internet connection.
Oh yeah, like my yeah. Well, it's been better. The storm
It has.
stopped.
It has been better, definitely.
It's because I'm a heathen. God's punishing me.
There you go. Uh, our next item is the Grand Vizier. This is one of those ones that back in Classic, this was my favorite weapon just because I would throw it on Ariana and then forget about it because it had the Magic Find bonus, for
Mm,
going and getting my stacks of Nephilim Valor and trying to up my chance at getting legendaries, which were gonna be crap.
yep.
Yep. But yeah, this one clocks in at 4,291 DPS. Added on the 10% weapon damage, so it's been re-rolled for 10% weapon damage. 1,445 intelligence, 1,418 vitality, and increases meteor damage by 27%, almost perfect.
That's nice.
Monster kills grant 240 experience. And the big one reduces the arcane power cost of Meteor by 44%, and has the Ronald McDonald's for the empty socket on there.
Man, that's super nice. That'll be really nice in patch 2.3. There is some limited use for the Grand Vizier now, but I know that for the most part, people are just using that in 2.3 to cube it, which is the unfortunate part is that's a beautifully rolled item that you'd probably just end up cubing next patch.
Yeah, yeah, that is one of those ones, or if you found it, and you had something like this drop with pretty good damage, um, well, you really wouldn't make sense to use this in like cube a Serpent's Marker.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Service Marketer, man. See, because well, the problem with two-handers and wizards is that you lose that roll.
Mm-hmm.
You lose. It's one thing, if the damage is comparable, but you lose a whole second item of rolls, which is
Mm-hmm.
super super nice to have. Double the vitality, whatever. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, either way, that's a beautiful weapon.
Yep, it still is. And I almost forgot. This was sent in. This was sent in by Justin, and Justin also had another. He had Nilfer's Boast, the legendary boots. So that way it rolled 485 intelligence, 477 vitality, 99 resistance to all elements, and re-rolled for increased meteor damage by 15%, increased gold and health glow pickup range by 2 yards, and also rolled the perfect, increases the damage of meteor by 100%. Um, or I should say that when your meteor hits 3 or fewer enemies, the damage is increased by a perfect 200% instead.
Yeah, man.
Um, so yeah, another beautiful little wizard item there.
One of probably the best additions to the last patch, I would
Hmm.
say.
The next item we have in, this one comes in from Ed. This is, continuing our train of just amazing crashing rains. Again, this is not an ancient, but as always, when the bonus rolls this well, you don't need it to be ancient. Um, this one clocks in at 417 dexterity, 479 vitality, re-rolled for 94 resistance to all elements, 383 armor. Can't win them all. Monster kills grant 159 experience, but this is one of the best that we've seen on the show. Rain of Vengeance, summons a crashing beast that deals 3,977% weapon damage.
Wow,
Yes.
that's absurd.
Still waiting for the perfect 4,000 to show up on the show, but this is nice. This is good. Very good. I like it.
Man.
I'm still waiting, and then once we get the 4,000% weapon damage, we'll be waiting for the ancient 4,000% weapon damage one.
Man. We'll see actually Droth in chat saying he's got one. Show us your goods, man. Where's it at? Let's see it. I want to check that. Sounds
Droth, where are you? Come on. I've been asking for this for weeks now. I know you didn't just come and roll up into the show just because you knew we were going to be talking about you. Come on, man. You're holding out on us. And to follow up with Lala's little picture, here we go. Henry's perquisition. What is that word?
Perquisition. That's a question.
Yeah, Henry's perquisition. The cat, Mr. Pickles.
Ah.
Yep, which rolled as ancient, so it rolled 456 to 554 average damage, 928 intelligence, increases critical hit chance by 9%, reduces skill cooldown by 7%, increases damage of Grasp of the Dead by 13%. Secondary bonuses of monster kills grant 232 experience, ignores durability loss. In the ancient bonus of the first time an enemy deals damage to you, reflect that damage by 47% and charm the enemy for 3 seconds.
That sounds beautiful.
Yep. So, yeah. And it's got the little kitty. So cute, Mr. Pickles.
I want it. I want it so bad.
Yeah. I know the cat itself is now called Henry, but to me, he'll always be
Mr. Pickles.
I mean, come on, it's Mr. Pickles. How can you get a better name than that?
It's pretty fantastic. I don't know. My cat's named Tom Cruise from Mission Impossible Springsteen the Fourth, which is a pretty good name.
I have to say that one is, for being a mouthful, that one is pretty good.
Well, he does his own stunts, and that way I can walk around the house like John Boyd going, Ethan. So it's nice.
Yeah. So it'll be Mr. Pickles forever, MrPickles.com, Mr. Pickles for 100 years. That is a Rick and Morty joke for anyone that might get that subtle reference. Which season 2 of Rick and Morty started. If you're not watching that show, you are doing it wrong.
You are.
You are. Yes, definitely. But yeah, that kind of brings us to a close here. That wraps us up for the evening. Is there anything else that you would like to add? Any last minute stuff?
Well, yeah, there's a. Well, it depends on how much time we have, because I really wanted to get some of your theories. I really wanted some theories on what you think. What is your idea based on the clues and context clues we have within Diablo right now, and what's transpired in Reaper of Souls, as to where you think the story might go for the future expansion, or next game?
I don't know. Before, it was kind of just in my thought that we're going to get expansion number 2, and then that was it. It's either like patches from there and then Diablo 4, but with the that unannounced project game developer or art designer that they're looking for, I don't know. The prospects of maybe an expansion 3, I guess, are a little bit realer.
Yeah.
Because to wrap up the story, I expect us to go to hell.
Right. That's what I would think that too.
Yeah. Though there are other things that they could do in order to go and wrap that up. So there's, I guess, a little thing in my mind saying that, now we won't be going there. But I still want to say that in this next expansion, we'll be going to hell. We'll be trying to redeem Leah's soul. We'll be hunting down fragments of the Black Soul Stone, or trying to stop the prime evil that's maybe now released, or something along those lines.
Yeah.
That is still kind of like my vague thoughts and theories on where the expansion itself might be going. But it's one of those ones, is like a Blizzard does as Blizzard sees fit. The sky's the limit. They could come. I mean, they really came out of left field with Reaper of Souls and going. There were things there.
That's true.
For Malthael. There definitely were like little hooks for Malthael, but it didn't really seem that we would be killing him.
Was that a Malthael pun? You said hooks for Malthael.
Yes.
Sorry.
Unintentional.
I like a good pun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that too. They kind of did come out of nowhere a little bit, but they had those little bits, but we didn't expect it. That was like not we weren't thinking Malthael was coming next.
Hmm.
But I don't know. The reason why I asked is because I've had a couple different theories. But my favorite theory, and I don't know if I've mentioned it to you before. I know I've mentioned it on previous podcasts before, but at the end of Reaper Souls, obviously we kill Malthael. Spoiler alert! And all
Spoilers.
the yeah right, and all the demons trapped in the Soulstone are essentially released because dead Soulstone not there anymore. But the problem
Maybe.
is that well,
Maybe.
exactly. But the developers on a Player Way forever ago mentioned that when they were released, that it was confirmed that they were released together. They were not released as separate
Hmm.
evils, right? That they were still the prime evil, essentially, right?
Yep.
But a lot of people that don't know the origin story, and I know you've tapped a little bit on this on the show, but the origin story of Diablo was that the entire universe was one being named Anu, and that split into two beings. And then those two beings were Anu and the Tatmet.
Hmm.
Tatmet being the seven-headed demon. Well, technically, all demons are now combined into one entity, and if they are destroyed and their spirits are sent back to hell to reform, would it not be super badass to fight a seven-headed demon with the abilities of Diablo, Mephisto, Baal, Belial, Azmodan, Duriel, and Andariel?
I
Because
would definitely love that if they went through and did it. I guess the one part of like the kind of like I guess like the lore snob in me would just kind of like be like, but we won't fight Tathamet because it's not just the prime evils that make up Tathamet. It would be all demons.
right, exactly. But what
Yeah,
if? I mean,
but what,
there's a
that
way they
if
could
they
tap that power.
yeah, if they went through and did a little bit more in that, because they almost did it for Reaper.
It felt
Malthael
like it was going there.
almost. Yeah, Malthael, they were trying to make it work, but they kind of like ran out of time. Malthael would almost have brought out the powers of the previous Prime Evils, and you would fight him, and he would like summon the tentacles from Baal and shoot like the Frost Cone from Baal,
See,
or he would
exactly.
be
They'd have different
Mephisto.
affixes from different bosses or different
Yeah.
heads referring to different bosses because
Hmm.
that was the premise. It was a seven-headed demon of the
Yep.
seven different
Okay,
demons.
so that's what it's going to be confirmed. The next expansion's final boss is going to be a 7-part boss battle where you fight all seven of the, where you fight the prime evil as it goes through and reverts to each of the prime evils being the main thing that you're fighting as they each vie for control of who's in charge of what. So there
Man,
you
I
go.
mean,
That's
it's pretty fun. But another idea too, along similar lines, would be with them being released, would it not be awesome to get to the end of a Greater Rift and have Duriel spawn? Like, would that
Oh,
not make
I've
everyone
already said that on the show that I
dude?
think that some Rift Guardians should be like on Dariel or Duriel, some of
It
our
would be
old
really cool.
bosses.
Exactly. I
I
mean, that's what
I
coding and work, but it'd be awesome,
I
man.
think I've even mentioned this on the Heroes Power Hour. It's like, what hero do you want to see added into the game next? And I'm like Duriel. I
Mm-hmm.
want to see Duriel added into Heroes of the Storm. He was one of my favorite bosses
That would
in
be interesting.
D2. One of my
That would be
favorite
interesting.
character concept designs that I want to see him back.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, no, the thing with Diablo is it's cyclical. Everything comes back in the end. Nothing is truly dead.
Hmm.
It always comes back. So you're gonna get a reiteration of those things eventually if the story keeps going.
Hmm.
I'm just ready for it. But at the same time, I didn't see Malthael coming, and
Yep.
I really enjoyed the story of Reaper and how it played out and kind of
Hmm.
where it left things. It's still interesting what we got to do with Leah. Still interesting what's happening with your character. Um, Specifically your character, if you read the Sin trilogy and the implications of it, and what that means moving forward into this era, because what's to say stop, what's to stop each hero in Diablo 3 returning to their respective, homes or whatever, and raising a clan and the Mage Clan Wars happening again, because of the power that's coming from our characters in the Nephilim now. What kind of irresponsibility comes with mortals having that power in their hands at this day and age? Was Odyssean
Hmm.
right? Was he wrong? And how does that play in? I mean, there's a lot of really interesting questions they could ask. It's just a
Hmm.
matter of what they do. So very
Yep.
interesting. Very
Yeah,
excited.
there's so many possibilities that they could go through and take it. I know a lot of people want to see Skovos. I would like to see the ruins of Vision. I would like to see Ure, however you want to
I
pronounce it.
want, and this is completely self-serving, but I want to go back to Xing She because
Hmm.
for those that don't know, and this is a wizard moment, so bear with me, but the wizard, the people that watch the wizard class video, like the wizard is such a badass that she decided to name herself. Like
Hmm.
there aren't other wizards. Like wizards aren't a thing that are necessarily known in Diablo the way they are. They're mages, they're mage clans, they're sorcerers, they're sorceresses. They summon energy, whatever. But the premise of the wizard class in Diablo 3 is that she was so powerful, but so exploratory with her dark magics and the stuff that she tainted and demons and stuff like that, that she couldn't find a home and she always warred with the mage clans. So she just left and proclaimed herself a wizard and went to venture and find her power and her place in the universe. So it's like she literally was like, hey, you know what? You guys suck. I'm a wizard. I don't want to be a mage because you guys suck. I'm going to go do my thing. So what happens now when she returns home? You know, I want to see that story, but obviously that's self-serving because I play wizard. But it would be pretty cool. And if they found a way to bring the famous Mage Clan Wars into a Diablo game somehow, I would also really enjoy that because those were always really cool aspects of the old lore.
And also, you know, obviously just have to go and give a shout out. The Firefly, the short story for the Wizards by Michael Chu, is available for free on the Diablo website. If you go to the game guide, down at the bottom, it lists all the short stories. Firefly is one of the best stories out there
It's
for the
really good.
Not only if you're like a Wizard fan and want to know more about, you know, like the Wizard character and where she's coming from, if you want to know the story of what happens to the sorceress from Diablo 2, you need to read that story.
Did you ever level a wizard to 70?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
so you do know that you see Ysera in
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, for those that don't know, when you go into the Pandemonium Fortress and you're about to fight Malthael, the sorceress from Diablo 2 shows herself in a spirit form to the wizard. So it's a really cool throwback for those that play. Yeah, spoilers. Yeah, 2 years after the fact almost. If you haven't killed Malthael yet, spoiler, we kill him, and you also get to see the sorceress if you play the wizard. But something, you know, we're fleshing out a lot of the lore stuff, but it's important to know that when you're reading a story or a book with Diablo, it's almost never centered around characters you're directly playing, but it fleshes out the universe, the world they live in. You know, where does the monk come from, and why is he the way he is? You know, it's you're going to get that kind of information. You're not going to find out exactly what your character did before he got there necessarily. But now in those short stories, they do actually address some of that.
Yep. And with that, unfortunately, I have a movie showing to get to in a little bit here. So we're kind of going to go through and wrap things up. But before I go, I do want to give a shout out. PQ Higgins gave us a 5-star review on iTunes. I wanted to just say thank you so much for listening. And then he in particular loved our like the tangents that we take, that we're not afraid to get off topic on certain things, and how we love to like work in movie quotes into the show. So thank you again, and we thank all of our listeners on iTunes. Any 5-star reviews that you can give the show really help us out, and going through and opening our show up to a larger community. So definitely thank you for that, and by all means, if you have the time, give us a 5-star review, or just give us some sort of feedback. In addition to feedback, you can always email us here, westmarchworkshop@blizzpro.com. You can send us any thoughts, feelings you have, where the direction the game is going, your thoughts or theories on what the possible expansion we might be getting at BlizzCon are, and of course send us in your items, your loot, so that way we can showcase it here on the show. You can also follow us on Twitter at the WM Workshop. You can find me on Twitter at Neinball Gamer, my other co-host at LT Lunatic 22. He was not here this week. Nerdwords, you're also on Twitter. You can find him at N3RD. WARDS. You have to throw delete speak in there, so I can't just.
I had to. Well, you're not really a nerd unless you have a number in your name, right?
Oh, I have a number in my name.
I know. Yeah. Actually.
There you go. Yeah. Though not actually. Yeah, and of course you can find the live show here on Twitch at twitch.tv/BlizzPro every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. And if you're stopping by our Twitch channel, please go through and check out our other shows. On Sunday nights, you can find the Well Met podcast with Eldorian and the rest of the crew there for Hearthstone. Monday nights, you can catch Twiz and Stutter for their Extra Life Gaming charity stream, where they donate the proceeds to charities. They sometimes play non-Blizzard games. Last week, I believe they played League of Legends. So you can go through, follow them as they just sit around, bullshit, and have fun playing a bunch of different games for charity. Tuesday nights, you can find Twiz, Eldorian, Balrog Fan, DJ Tyrant, and sometimes myself on the Heroes Power Hour, you can see us go through, talk about Heroes, enjoy the game, play a couple of matches. So there's a lot of things that we have to offer here at the Blizz Pro Twitch channel. You can also find us on YouTube, all the shows I just talked about and more. And then, of course, we're in game. You can join the Westmarch Workshop community, or if you're looking for a clan, you can go through and find us at the Blizz Pro clan. Send us an email at westmarchworkshop.com so that way we know that you're interested, because we normally will take applications from those that have emailed us and that who we know before we just take random ones, as we're normally always sitting there right at the cap and we only have a few spaces to play with. So we do appreciate you showing the initiative to say that you want to join and the type of player that you are in order to go through and get you in.
Introductions are always good.
Yep, introductions are always good.
Mhm.
And as I say, as I click to the outro screen, that is listed as intro because it is also the intro in the outro. Yes. Sorry, weird tangent there. But anyways, that is it. That is it. Any final thoughts before we
Yeah.
close out?
I would just say, yeah, like he mentioned my Twitter earlier. If you want to check out, I also do a podcast over at DiabloII.net with Flux. I'm a pretty frequent guest on there, and I also write articles for the site every now and then, mostly covering the wizard class. Possibly working on some lore articles if there's enough interest in them. But that's DiabloII.net. And the podcast we record on Sundays, usually post on Monday or Tuesday. Neinball's jumped over before. Leviathan's been a regular guest before too. So yeah, come out and hang out with that too.
Yeah, go through, check them out. Different flavor of podcast. Always great to have some more thoughts in the community. And with that, I believe we are out. Good night, everybody.
Thanks, guys.